Chapter 1. Inside the neat and tidy room, there was a young girl's fragrance that made one feel very comfortable. Her delicate body wrapped in a blanket habitually turned over, and casually placed her feet on the edge of the bed. This feeling was really comfortable, and also made one feel even more lazy. However, what the girl was pressing down on wasn't the blanket or the edge of the bed, but a young man. The young man was awakened by the pressure, and then he had a look of astonishment. What's going on? Why is there a girl lying beside me, and half of her delicate body is even pressing down on me? Even through the blanket, Jiang Xiu could feel the girl's heat. Conspiracy, it's definitely a conspiracy. There must be a wicked person who wants to harm me. As the sect master of Tianqing School, Jiang Xiu immediately realized that his current situation was not good. According to his judgment, someone must have drugged him and then arranged for him to lie together with the girl. Regardless of whether they did that or not, the girl's man would rush in soon to catch them in the act. No, I have to hurry and escape. Knock, knock, knock. At this moment, there was a knock on the door of the room. Jiang Xiu's brain immediately exploded, and he was so scared that his soul almost flew out. They're here to catch us in the act. Since they set up such a vicious trap, there must be a large formation outside, and there are also many Heaven Realm experts lying in ambush. This is the same as trying to kill me. The knocking on the door also woke the girl up. She opened her eyes, and it was a pair of clear and moving eyes like autumn water. As Jiang Xiu expected, when the girl saw him, her eyes were filled with fear, and she opened her mouth to scream. I knew it, this is the trick of the Chinese. You want to use this trick on me? Jiang Xiu decided to scream first. I'm also handsome, and there are many girls in the immortal martial continent who want to throw themselves at me. You're not allowed to covet my beauty? Knock, knock, knock. There was another knock on the door. Jiang Xiu felt that the girl in front of him looked a little familiar. He hadn't seen her clearly when he was lying down, but now that he was sitting up, he finally saw her clearly. Her skin was as white as snow, like the mountains in spring. At this moment, she was frowning tightly, which added a bit of vitality to her beautiful face. Under her eyebrows were a pair of beautiful big eyes as clear as spring water. She had a small and straight nose, and her beautifully curved and tender lips were pressed together. The fragrance she exhaled hit Jiang Xiu's face, which made Jiang Xiu's heart beat faster. It was actually Yi Bing. Yi Bing was Jiang Xiu's high school classmate before he transmigrated. She was a rich girl with a tall and beautiful figure. She was very eye-catching in school. Naturally, she was very arrogant. Just like her name, she was cold. How could it be her? She had also transmigrated and looked exactly like Yi Bing. Forget it, I'll make the first move. Jiang Xiu opened his mouth and was about to scream. In order to express his unbearable humiliation after his innocence was tainted, Jiang Xiu's breath sank into his dantian, and his magic power burst forth. He was about to scream at the top of his lungs. Unexpectedly, the girl also recognized the person in front of her. It was actually her loser classmate, Jiang Xiu. Fear and uneasiness flashed through her eyes. She actually reached out her hand from under the blanket. Her slender jade hand carried a fragrance and tenderness as she tightly covered Jiang Xiu's mouth. What's this situation? A new trick? The girl said nervously. Don't scream, don't scream. How could Jiang Xiu let her have her way? He had to scream. Even if he died, he had to scream. Jiang Xiu, don't scream. Even though Jiang Xiu's mouth was covered, his eyes suddenly widened. It couldn't be helped. The girl's blanket slipped off and her indescribably delicate body was exposed. Even though Yi Bing didn't know why Jiang Xiu would appear in her house and on her bed, but if he screamed and her parents came in, how could she still have the face to live? If this matter fermented and spread to the school, and let all the students know, then she wouldn't be able to live. Bing Bing opened the door. It's Mom, Xiaoyan is here. Hearing that Xiaoyan was here, Yi Bing panicked even more. She kept giving Jiang Xiu a look, and even pouted her red lips, making a shushing sound. She also tried her best to control her voice to not become abnormal. Mom, tell Xiaoyan that I'm not feeling well, let her go back first. Jiang Xiu saw that she was so flustered, even more nervous than him. He was puzzled. What's going on? Shouldn't she let the people outside rush in and catch them in bed? Could it be a series of schemes, Or an even more vicious move? Sure enough, it's despicable. Fine, this lord wants to see what other tricks you can play. A female voice sounded outside the door. Bing bing, you're not feeling well? Open the door and let me see. A new trick? What kind of joke is this? Jiang Xiu felt that he had to wait and see. This trick was already beyond his imagination. When Yi Bing saw that her mother insisted on coming in, she was so scared that she didn't know what to do. She was extremely nervous, but then she noticed that Jiang Xiu's eyes were looking at her chest. She immediately realized that she was exposed. With a scream, she hurriedly pulled up the blanket and pressed it in front of her body. Jiang Xiu had already rolled his eyes and looked at the ceiling, showing that he didn't see anything. He even revealed a look of disdain. I hate girls like you the most, especially girls who are beautiful and have good figures. They think that they have a bit of good looks and want to confuse me. Hearing Yi Bing's cry, Mother Yi worriedly said, Bing Bing, what's wrong? What's wrong? Xiaoyan, quickly go and get the spare key. It's in the drawer of the coffee table. Quickly go and get it. Nothing bad must happen. Hearing that she needed to use the spare key to open the door, Yi Bing's beautiful face became even more gloomy. She hurriedly cried out, Mom, I'm fine. You don't need to be nervous. At this critical moment, Yi Bing seemed to have thought of something and said in panic, Quickly put on your clothes. Jiang Xiu's eyes were cold as he looked at her from the corner of his eyes. That's right, it's this kind of cold aura. You want to slander this lord for having an affair with you? Naive too naive. Speak, who are you and what do you want to do to this lord? Quickly. Yi Bing's heart was about to collapse. Her mom and Xiaoyan were just outside and could come in at any time. This damn Jiang Xiu, he's actually still talking nonsense. Hurry and put on your clothes. Heh hee hee. Jiang Xiu continued to have a cold expression. You want this lord to put on his clothes and this lord has to put on his clothes? Wouldn't this lord lose a lot of face? Wrong, this is too wrong. Just what kind of scheme is this lord hiding? This lord can't see through it. Yi Bing, who was extremely angry, reached out her hand and knocked on Jiang Xiu's head. Are you going to put on your clothes or not? She was so anxious that she was about to cry. You actually dare to fight against this lord? Jiang Xiu was extremely shocked. Who in the immortal martial continent didn't know that he, Jiang Xiu, fought against 9 great Empyreans by himself? Even when facing the combined attack of 9 Empyreans, he was still able to remain calm and at ease and escape thousands of miles away. Whenever the later generations talked about this, they would all gasp in amazement. This also led to his unparalleled fame. From then on, Jiang Xiu's name shook the heavens and earth. Ha ha ha, you actually dare to fight against this lord one-on-one. Interesting, very interesting. Towards the end, his voice was already incomparably cold, causing the temperature in the room to drop by several degrees. The cold wind was like a blade, tyrannical and emotionless. You are courting death. Yi Bing panted with rage. If you still don't put on your clothes, I will continue to hit you. Jiang Xiu's eyes gleamed with coldness as he stared disdainfully at the world. At this moment, the aura of an expert was fully displayed. Back then when Jiang Xiu was angered, millions of soldiers didn't even dare to take half a step forward. His voice was incomparably deep, and his killing intent was akin to an ancient demon that had appeared in this world. Try and touch this lord again. A miserable scream rang out. Jiang Xiu's head suffered another blow. Not only that, there was a slight pain. Why didn't he dodge? Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. This lord must have been too careless earlier. Try and touch this lord again. Yi Bing impolitely gave him another blow. Jiang Xiu let out another miserable scream as his head suffered another blow. His expression was incomparably horrified. He realized that something was wrong. He mobilized the Fa Li in his body, and his eyes suddenly widened. There wasn't even a bit of Fa Li left in his body. Oh no, this lord must have been poisoned. Poisons that can make this lord's Fa Li disappear can be counted on one's fingers. All of them are priceless treasures that are incomparably precious. So you were waiting for this lord here? So despicable. Dong dong dong. Bing bing, are you alright? Don't scare mommy. Mommy Ye's anxious voice rang out from outside the door again. Xiaoyan, did you find the key? Hurry up. Ah, I found it, I found it. She then heard the sound of a young girl's footsteps running back. In her hand was a jingling key. Chapter 2. Hearing the sound of her mother opening the door, Yi Bing's face turned pale. If her mother opened the door and saw that she wasn't even wearing clothes and was lying on the bed with a boy, she really wouldn't be able to clear her name even if she jumped into the Yellow River. Yi Bing could only grit her teeth and say, "Close your eyes. I want to wear clothes." Jiang Xiu shook his head. Yi Bing was shy and angry. You bully me." Jiang Xiu's face was as cold as water as he coldly laughed. "Do you think this sovereign is a 3-year-old child? If I close my eyes, what if you stab this sovereign with a knife?" Now that he had lost all his powers, not only could he not close his eyes, he had to open his eyes wide and stare at this girl. Yes, stare. You. Yi Bing was so angry that her face turned green and white. She really wanted to go up and bite him to death. He was too hateful. However, she couldn't dawdle with Jiang Xiu any longer. If she suffered until she died, then so be it. Otherwise she would definitely be caught in bed. In a flash, her perfect body slipped out of the blanket. Her sparkling and translucent jade feet landed on the ground. Her toes were small and delicate, very cute. She took large strides and ran towards the wardrobe, quickly looking for her clothes. Thinking that there was still a boy lying on the bed behind her, Yi Bing's ears turned red. What kind of joke was this? Jiang Xiu couldn't figure it out. However, it was so vicious. As the saying goes, half of one's face is covered by a pipa. It's the most alluring when it's faintly discernible. It can be seen how vicious the enemy's intention to kill this sovereign was. That wasn't all. The most vicious thing was that Jiang Xiu still didn't dare to close his eyes or shift his gaze. He still had to stare at her. And stare. Yi Bing quickly put on her clothes while saying, "Jiang Xiu, I don't know how you entered my house, and no matter what, if my parents and Xiaoyan find out, my reputation will be ruined and my reputation will also be ruined. Although this is the 2nd floor, please jump down." Jiang Xiu was suspicious. "You're really willing to let this sovereign go?" Yi Bing put on her clothes and ran to open the window. She said anxiously, "Quick, there's grass outside. It was raining last night. It should be fine to jump down." Ha ha ha. Jiang Xiu laughed heartily. "Do you really think I'm a 3-year-old child? If I'm not wrong, there must be countless powerhouses buried outside this window. I'm afraid there are even 1 or 2 Empyrean-level powerhouses." Even though he was panicking, Jiang Xiu's face was still very calm. He leaned on the bed and crossed his arms in front of his chest. What was a strong man? This was what it meant to be a strong man. Even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, his expression would not change. Bing bing. Why did Mommy hear a boy's voice? Just then the door opened. Yi Bing hurriedly sat down on the sofa and maintained her ladylike image. She fiddled with her slightly messy hair that had just woken up in the morning. There was a gentle and moving smile on her beautiful face. She was calm and composed. Being caught in the act was nothing. Seeing that her daughter was safe and sound, Mother Yi heaved a sigh of relief. Suddenly, she remembered that she heard a boy's voice outside the door. She glanced around and saw a boy half leaning on the bed with his arms crossed. From his exposed shoulders, she could see that he wasn't wearing any clothes at all. Jiang Xiu was completely acting as himself. His face was cold and his eyes were extremely vigilant. He had a serious expression that was not in harmony with the current atmosphere. It was written all over his face that he was just quietly watching you guys act out. Mother Yi was stupefied. Xiaoyan, who was following beside Mother Yi, was so shocked that her eyes almost popped out. Jiang Xiu, shocking, too shocking. Bing bing. You guys, the well-behaved and silent loser Jiang Xiu in school was amazing. She was very clear about how arrogant her best friend was. Her eyes were definitely growing on top of her head. She didn't put anyone in her eyes at all. She was actually teased by him. That was fine, but she actually already. Yi Bing, oh Yi Bing, so you're actually this kind of Yi Bing. After Mother Yi recovered from her shock, she hurriedly covered her chest. 8 or 10 heart-saving pills were no longer enough. She had to fill a box. Mother Yi immediately flew into a rage and let out a terrifying roar. Bing bing. Who is he? You, how did mother teach you? Speak, who is this bastard? Audacious, he actually dared to call me a bastard. Looking for death. Wait, I don't have any magic power now. I can't act blindly without thinking. Xiaoyan said. Auntie, this is our classmate. His name is Jiang Xiao. Classmate. Mother Ye's mouth couldn't help but twitch. That expression was very exaggerated. It was as if her heart was about to die. That's right, Auntie. This Jiang Xiao's family has a fruit stall. Fruit stall. Mother Ye's eyes rolled back. Her body went limp and she almost fainted. It was Xiaoyan who supported her. Bing Bing, you're angering mother to death. Yi Bing said. Mom, you misunderstood. There's nothing between me and him. Mother Yi still believed in her daughter. But when her gaze fell on Yi Bing's body, her heart collapsed once again. Her hair was messy, her clothes were messy, and even her buttons were crooked. My daughter, this is called nothing? Mom, let me explain. I don't know what happened either. He suddenly appeared in my bedroom. Mother Ye's heart was filled with despair. For a boy, you even said a lie that couldn't even fool a 3-year-old child. Are you still Mother's Bing Bing? Mother Yi signaled Yi Bing not to say anything. Don't explain. Mother doesn't need your explanation. Don't need. In short, break up. Yi Bing became anxious. Mom. What? Mother Yi glared. You're still not happy? Come out. Mother Yi roared at Jiang Xiao. At this moment, Jiang Xiao felt that this was no longer a matter of depth. It was too damn deep. It was deeper than the Pacific Ocean. I don't have any clothes. When he said this, Yi Bing couldn't hold it in anymore. She covered her pretty face with both hands. She didn't have the face to see anyone anymore. Lu Xiaoyan tried hard not to laugh. Poor Mother Yi made a sound of disgust. She almost couldn't breathe. After looking around, she found that her daughter's room really didn't have this boy's clothes. This made her angry. Did he strip all the way to my house? Just you wait. Mother Yi took a set of sportswear that Father Yi wore when he was exercising and threw it over to him. Put it on. Come down. Looking at the sportswear that was thrown over, it was actually the Adidas series. He had a deep memory of this set of clothes. At that time, his family was poor and couldn't afford authentic sportswear. However, he really liked it. He didn't expect his father to save money and buy him an authentic set. Therefore, he would always remember this set of clothes. He felt that something was wrong. This situation was too real. It made him feel like he was back in his hometown, back in his youth. He then walked out of the room. Yi Bing's house was very big. It was a villa. Not only was the decoration magnificent, but it was also very stylish. From the corridor on the second floor, one could see the living room on the first floor. Mother Yi sat on the sofa angrily. The television was playing and the dialogue of characters came out. I am back. Back to your hometown. Back to my youth? Yi Bing stood in front of Mother Yi. She lowered her head like a child who did something wrong. Lu Xiaoyan on the side was explaining something to Mother Yi. Mother Yi saw Jiang Xiao come down and carefully looked at this boy. She thought that he was indeed quite handsome. Otherwise, Bing Bing wouldn't fall for him. You don't have to say anything. Pen and paper guarantee. Cut off all contact with my daughter in the future. Mom, why don't you believe me? There's really nothing between us? Yi Bing was so angry that she stomped her feet. What kind of mother was this? Why did she have to splash dirty water on her daughter? I also don't know why he appeared at home. I swear. Jiang Xiao looked out from the living room on the first floor. The sun was shining brightly outside. The familiar streets were accompanied by the sound of horns and cars speeding by. I'm really back. Jiang Xiao's heart was excited. Although he didn't understand what was going on, everything in front of him indicated that he was back. You really misunderstood. I came back from the immortal cultivation world, and just happened to land in student Yi Bing's room. Mom, did you hear that? After Yi Bing said that, she felt strange. Transmigrated? Can you talk more nonsense? Lu Xiaoyan covered her mouth and snickered. You're an immortal cultivator, and even transmigrated. Very good, very good. Mother Yi was so angry that her face turned white. Ignorant woman, just watch. I can instantly turn the cup of water on your coffee table into ice. Okay, you can change. If you can turn it into ice, I will believe you. Chapter 3. She had heard of those who were caught in puppy love begging for mercy, those who acted shamelessly, and those who resisted to the end and vowed to be together even if they died. However, this was the first time in history that someone had transmigrated. Mother Yi stared at him strangely. Lu Xiaoyan covered her mouth with all her strength. She couldn't stand it anymore, and was about to laugh out loud. However, when she saw her best friend, Yi Bing, staring at Jiang Xiu in disbelief, she felt that it wasn't appropriate for her to laugh out loud. Jiang Xiu glanced at them coldly and snickered in his heart. Ants, if the powerhouses of the immortal cultivation world knew that you dared to question my strength, they would definitely laugh their heads off. Once upon a time, I fought against 9 celestial venerables alone and laughed. Well, in short, I could freeze a 100-meter-long river with a single palm. This is just a cup of water. Ha ha ha. With his hands behind his back, he walked toward the tea table with a tall and straight posture. Every step he took was in accordance with the principles of heaven and earth. Coupled with his talent and bearing that was like a deep abyss, the demeanor of a peerless master was fully displayed. In an instant, his hair fluttered in the wind and his eyes shone brightly. In the next moment, not only did he want to freeze the water in the cup, but he also wanted to shatter the cup directly. Otherwise, how could he show off his strength as the great Lord Jiang? Without even looking, Jiang Xiu hit the cup with his palm. For him, it was just a small cup of water. It wasn't difficult at all, and it wasn't something to be proud of. After he withdrew his palm, it was as fast as lightning. Then he stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes naturally revealed a sense of arrogance. This was the loneliness that only a peerless powerhouse could understand. The loneliness of being invincible. There were too few people who could be Jiang Xiu's opponent. Are you done? Mother Yi asked indifferently. Jiang Xiu nodded slightly. In fact, he didn't want to show such a shocking ability in front of the ordinary people in his hometown. He hoped that he wouldn't scare them because it was too anti-scientific and would destroy their worldview. However, when he looked back, he saw blue veins popping out on Mother Ye's forehead. Are you so scared that your veins are popping out? He couldn't help but shake his head. Sure enough, this was an ant that had never seen a powerful cultivator before. This was only the beginning, and he was already scared? Now you should believe this sovereign's words, right? This sovereign has transmigrated and coincidentally landed in your daughter's room, which is Yi Bing's classmate's room. Do you understand now? Alright, student, it's time for this farce to end. Mother Yi suppressed the anger in her heart. After all, it was her daughter's classmate. This matter was not something to be proud of. She did not want to make a big deal out of it. A farce? This ignorant woman actually dared to say that it was a farce. How bold. Jiang Xiu's cold eyes swept over, but in the next second his gaze froze, because he saw that the water in the teacup on the coffee table not only did not freeze, but also did not crack. What was going on? How could this be? Jiang Xiu's brows revealed a pondering expression, but soon after, he felt helpless in his heart. How could this sovereign have forgotten about this? He had just transmigrated and lost all the magic power in his body. No matter, this is only temporary. With this sovereign's peerless demonic talent, cultivating it back will be a matter of minutes. Mother Yi said. Don't try to resist. Obediently write a letter of guarantee for me. Promise that you will not have any relationship with my daughter. Jiang Xiu said. How could this sovereign like your family's girl? This letter of guarantee. Why do I need to write it? Wanting this sovereign to write a letter of guarantee. What a joke. Yi Bing's lowered head lifted up and glared at him with her beautiful eyes. You're not interested in this lady? Are you even worthy? Her looks are average, her sports talent is not good, her family's conditions are not good, and the most important thing is that her academic results are a mess. Even if you want to find an excuse, can't you find a more believable one? Enough! Mother Yi shouted loudly and forcefully slammed the pen and paper on the coffee table. She did not even notice that her fingernails were broken, showing the anger in her heart. Don't give me any more nonsense, write it right now. Otherwise, I'll call the police and arrest you. I'll say that you entered my daughter's room with improper intentions. I'll definitely sentence you to 8 to 10 years. Jiang Xiu's face was as calm as water, but the muscles on his forehead twitched a bit. Now that he had lost all his magic power, if she really called the police, he would be in a lot of trouble. Moreover, the Yi family was rich and powerful, not easy to deal with. No matter. How many peerless beauties want to be this sovereign's servant? Since you didn't grasp such a good opportunity, this sovereign can only feel sorry for you. Serve me with pen and ink. Lu Xiaoyan almost could not hold back her laughter. This Jiang Xiu was too much. Why didn't she notice it before? She was about to suffer internal injuries from holding it in. But seeing Mother Ye's furious appearance, she really did not dare to laugh. And you, Bing. Mother Yi pointed to the table at the side. The two of you, go over there and write the guarantee. The two of you must deeply recognize your own mistakes and swear the most vicious oath. Yi Bing made a no sound. Today's matter was simply an unexpected disaster for her. She picked up the pen and paper and fiercely glared at Jiang Xiu. Then, she ran over to write the guarantee. Jiang Xiu said in his heart, "This sovereign suffered such humiliation today. It was all thanks to you. You're still angry?" The two of them sat at the dining table and started to write the guarantee. How many years had it been since Jiang Xiu last touched a ballpoint pen? In the other world he used a writing brush. Also, how did he write the guarantee? Although he was not outstanding in school, and his grades were not good, he was an honest child. He had never committed any mistakes. He had never written a guarantee before, so he was not even clear about the format. Regarding the guarantee, Yi Bing was rather familiar with it. This could be attributed to Mother Ye's hobby in this area. Ever since Yi Bing was young, whenever Yi Bing did something wrong, she would have to write a guarantee. Ever since she was young, Yi Bing's guarantee would probably be higher than her. It could be said that she could even write it with her eyes closed. Shwa shwa, shwa 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 shwa. Cough cough. Jiang Xiu's throat let out a strange sound that was filled with hints. Yi Bing raised her head and looked over. She said in a very bad mood, "What?" Jiang Xiu said with a cold face. "This sovereign does not know how to write a guarantee. Let this sovereign copy it." Yi Bing laughed twice. Her charming face turned cold. "You wish." After saying that, she even moved her seat to the side and deliberately pressed her body on the table to block Jiang Xiu's line of sight. She then quickly wrote, "You dare to treat this sovereign like this?" Jiang Xiu's anger rose. In this other world, who didn't give him, Jiang Xiu, some face? A mere ant actually dared to ignore his request. Shouldn't she be flattering him and take the initiative to let him copy it? If she was a bit more sensible, she should have taken the initiative to write 2 copies. If you don't want to let this sovereign see it, does this sovereign not see it? Jiang Xiu stretched his neck, wanting to peek. However, the girl was too fierce. In addition, the girl had just woken up and didn't have time to tidy up her hair. Her jet black hair hung down and completely blocked his line of sight. He could only smell the delicate fragrance of a young girl floating over her hair. However, he couldn't see a single word. If it wasn't for the fact that this sovereign's magic power was exhausted, a mere profound light-borrowing shadow would be able to see through your guarantee. Jiang Xiu retracted his line of sight. He was very disdainful. Yi Bing, on the other hand, wrote, "Dear Dad Mom, I, Bing, am not obedient today. With a male classmate, I'll omit 1,000 words. Mother, I'm done writing." Mother Yi said, "Let me see. Bring yours over as well." Jiang Xiu was worried that Mother Yi would call the police, so he quickly wrote, "I, Jiang Xiu, agree to break up with classmate Yi Bing. I promise that I won't have any relationship with classmate Yi Bing anymore." Goddess Yi Bing's guarantee was written with full sincerity. However, Jiang Xiu's guarantee was written with a few words. Mother Yi frowned when she saw this, but she didn't want to lecture an unrelated person on how to write a guarantee. "Bring the ink pad over and press down the red handprint." "I still need to press down the handprint?" Seeing Jiang Xiu press down the handprint, Mother Yi said, "You're Jiang Xiu, right? Remember what you said today. The guarantee you wrote is your confession. Okay, you can go." Jiang Xiu also didn't want to stay any longer. He left the Yi family's door. Outside, There was the familiar smell of his hometown. Along the way there were villas. He couldn't stop a car, so he walked towards the bus stop with great interest. Mom, it's okay. Then I'm going to tutor with Xiaoyan? Yi Bing said timidly. Mother Yi felt that her daughter's heart was really big. After such a big thing happened, she didn't even change her expression. She waved her hand. Go, be careful on the road. When her daughter and Xiaoyan also went out, the more Mother Yi thought about it, the more she felt that something was wrong. A guarantee letter was too insecure. No, I can't let that kid go to the same school as Bing Bing again. Hello, is this Principal Tang? Hello, Mrs. Yi. The principal stood up from his seat. This was a big shot. Mother Yi said, I want you to expel a person. This person was rude to my daughter. Okay, Mrs. Yi. May I ask what his name is? While she was answering the phone, she heard a banging sound. At first, Mrs. Yi thought it was noise from the phone, but she gradually felt that something was wrong. She turned her head and looked. The sound came from the cup on the coffee table. The water inside began to condense at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, with a bang, the cup and the ice inside exploded. Mother Ye's eyes almost popped out. Hello, Mrs. Yi. What's the name of the student you want to expel? Mother Yi couldn't believe it. She reached out and touched the exploded ice. It was still emitting cold air. Jiang Xiu. Chapter 4. Jiang Xiu still remembered that this was a wetland villa area. Not far from here was the White Deer Alley wetland. In Jiang Xiu's memory, the price of a house here reached a terrifying sky-high price. It was impossible to buy a house without 10 million. If the location was good and was close to the wetland, like Yi Bing's house, it would cost more than 20 million. Yi Bing was really a fair, rich, and beautiful woman. However, if he remembered correctly, Yi Bing's life later on wasn't smooth. It was even regrettable. Under the control of her parents, Yi Bing broke up with her university boyfriend and married a very powerful second-generation heir. However, the good times didn't last long. She was abandoned by the second-generation heir. In the end, it was said that she committed suicide at the age of 27. Seeing that Jiang Xiu hadn't gone far, Lu Xiaoyan said, Bing Bing, your boyfriend. Before she finished speaking, Yi Bing had already rushed up with her long legs. Damn, isn't this a little too passionate? Be reserved, be reserved. Lu Xiaoyan couldn't understand. What was so good about this Jiang Xiu? He actually made Yi Bing so infatuated with him. However, she didn't see that Yi Bing was gnashing her teeth. She couldn't wait to eat Jiang Xiu alive. Jiang Xiu. Beauty Ye's innocence was ruined in Jiang Xiu's hands. This matter couldn't be explained clearly. She was caught in bed. What else could she say? That was the yellow mud in her pants. Even if it wasn't shit, it was shit. What's the matter? Yi Bing was about 1.67 or 1.78 meters tall. When she went out, she wore a white top, a white floral dress, and a pair of white and blue canvas shoes. Her face was delicate, and her temperament was pure. She was very attractive. What's the matter? My mother let you go, but I won't. My innocence was ruined by you. If you don't give me an explanation today, I won't let you go. Yi Bing clenched her fists in anger. You want to fight with me? Jiang Xiu smiled disdainfully. Haven't I made it clear enough? This sovereign transmigrated from the immortal Martial continent, and I don't know how I ended up in your home. This can be considered your good fortune. Big Beauty Yi was so angry that her mouth was crooked. My good fortune? I want to thank your whole family. Jiang Xiu said. I know that you're pestering me like this. You want me to take responsibility for you, right? He thought to himself, you're not stupid. You can change your fate if you follow me, right? Big Beauty Yi was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe her ears. Unfortunately, I don't fancy you. You, Big Beauty Yi almost vomited blood. You think you're the only one who doesn't like me? Heavens, who let this beast out? You're pissing me off. Seeing that Big Beauty Yi was about to explode, Lu Xiaoyan hurriedly said, Okay, stop arguing. We have to hurry up and leave. If we dawdle any longer, we'll be late. Today is Abbas Miju's class. It'll be very miserable if we're late. They were in their third year of high school, and their studies were very heavy. Now they even had to attend classes on the weekends. They called it tutoring, and they also had to pay extra. Jiang Xiu was stunned. He had forgotten about this matter. Right now he was still a student. I'm not going. Jiang Xiu firmly refused. What kind of joke was this? If the dignified sovereign of Tianqing School went to school to study, those ignorant teachers would write useless things like physics and chemistry on the blackboard. They would also say things like, "Students, time is tight. There are only 300 days left until the college entrance exam." Yi Bing said, "You're crazy. You don't want to go to university anymore? Do you want to become a youth? Or do you want to take over your parents' fruit store?" Jiang Xiu faintly smiled, not saying anything. Right now he didn't need to be a human. As the dignified sovereign of Tianqing School, his magical power was boundless. Let's go to school. Everyone called Jiang Xiu spiritual cultivation. The so-called spiritual cultivation was to have the wind and clouds by your side when you're still and thunder when you're moving. When you're moving, you're walking with a majestic gait. Even an emperor couldn't compare to this kind of temperament when he walked. Bing Bing, look at him. He's walking with an air of arrogance, like he's an emperor. Lu Xiaoyan nodded her head. I feel like there's something wrong with him. Yi Bing covered her mouth and secretly laughed. Hearing Lu Xiaoyan slander Jiang Xiu, she felt a burst of joy in her heart. He's like a tortoise. Jiang Xiu's hearing was amazing. The two women's whispers behind him all fell into his ears. Blue veins appeared on his forehead. You actually dared to speak ill of me behind my back. I'll tolerate you for a while. When my magical power recovers, I'll definitely take your lives. On the bus, Jiang Xiu tried to circulate his inner breath and couldn't help but frown. The surrounding air quality was too poor. With such poor air quality, there wasn't even a trace of spiritual energy. In such an environment, no matter how monstrous Jiang Xiu's talent was, his progress would probably be very slow. Hey, can I borrow a pen and paper? Jiang Xiu said to the two women sitting in front of him. What do you need a pen and paper for? To draw talismans. The two women looked at each other. Yi Bing's eyes were full of smiles. However, they were very curious about what kind of tricks Jiang Xiu was going to play. They took out a pen and paper from their bag and passed it to him. They saw Jiang Xiu holding the pen and drawing on the paper for a while. In the eyes of the two women, it was simply scribbling talismans. What kind of talisman is this? Jiang Xiu drew very quickly. He answered, Void musical sacrifice talisman. After he used his sword fingers to hold it, he put it in front of his lips. They saw his lips rapidly opening and closing, as if he was speaking, but no sound could be heard. Go. Under the stunned gazes of the two women, Jiang Xiu opened the window and threw the talisman out. The bus was moving, and the talisman fell to the ground with the wind. It was just like a person throwing rubbish in the bus. That wasn't all. A car behind drove past, and even ran over the talisman. That's it. Jiang Xiu nodded seriously. He sent a voice transmission to his disciples in the immortal martial continent on the other side of the universe, asking them to use a disposable flying sword to transport some cultivation materials over. Haha. Lu Xiaoyan held her stomach and laughed. Yi Bing was more ladylike. She covered her mouth and laughed until her eyes turned into crescents. This was too funny. Jiang Xiu frowned. Logically speaking, his talisman should have disappeared with a flash of golden light after he threw it out. But it fell to the ground like a piece of paper. How can this be? When the bus reached the next traffic light, the talisman that fell to the ground and was run over by the car a few times and stepped on a few times disappeared with a flash of golden light. We have arrived at Rivertown Second High School. Passengers alighting, please. The campus in front of him was exactly the same as in his memory. Even the smiling security guard at the entrance was holding a dirty teacup. Students walked in one after another. All of them were third-year high school students. Because it was a weekend cram session, they didn't have to wear their school uniforms. In an era where individuality was sought, students seized this rare opportunity to show off. Jiang Xiu, stop right there. This time, Jiang Xiu didn't put on airs. After all, Yi Bing paid for him just now. I'll pay you back tomorrow for the bus fare of 2 yuan. I'll also return you your clothes tomorrow. Yi Bing put on a serious face. I'm not calling you because of this. Today's matter, you remember it well. Keep it to yourself. You don't have to greet me when you see me. If there are any rumors in school, I won't let you off. Jiang Xiu said. What a joke. This is a stain in my life. Why would I expose myself? Yi Bing was furious. This guy's words were really infuriating. That's for the best. Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoyan walked into the campus hand in hand. Lu Xiaoyan asked in a gossipy manner. Bing Bing, did you really break up just like that? Yi Bing said. There's nothing going on between us. Don't talk nonsense. Alright, and you? Don't tell anyone else. Lu Xiaoyan said. Don't you know me well? My only flaw is that I'm too tight-lipped and I don't have many friends. The familiar teaching building, the familiar corridors, the field and the campus. Such a distant name. Jiang Xiu walked in at a leisurely pace. He even looked at the school's scenery with interest. His gaze suddenly froze. Not far away, there was a boy and girl in school uniforms. The boy was handsome and outstanding, and the girl was even more beautiful. She didn't lose to Yi Bing at all. Her name was Lingsu. It was a very graceful name. She had a very special relationship with Jiang Xiu. She was Jiang Xiu's fiancée. Did they finally meet again? Scenes of the past appeared in his mind. Jiang Xiu's eyes were deep and terrifying. The hatred in his eyes was obvious. The three people walked past each other. Lingsu didn't even look at Jiang Xiu. Chapter 5. Jiang Xiu's father and his good friend, Lingsu's father, Cheng Hanlin, had made this engagement. It wasn't a verbal agreement, but a betrothal gift of 10,000 yuan. 10,000 yuan was not a small amount at that time. It was enough to buy a house in Jiang City, and it was enough for Cheng Hanlin to start his business. Jiang Xiu's family was very well off when he was young. His father was a civil servant with a high position. However, after he broke the law, his family declined. And the law was related to Cheng Hanlin's family, who illegally approved land. Jiang Xiu's father lost his position and was imprisoned. On the other hand, the Cheng family flourished in the real estate industry because of Jiang Xiu's father's help. In addition, the real estate industry had flourished for more than 10 years. The fates of the two families were completely different, and they gradually drifted apart. One family was in dire straits, while the other was rich and prosperous. Lingsu was young and beautiful. Anyone who saw her would be tempted, let alone Jiang Xiu. She was his fiancée. In his previous life, Jiang Xiu fell in love with her without any accident. The wheel of fate decided everything, but it played a big joke on him. Lingsu didn't like him and wanted to break off the engagement. Jiang Xiu was naturally unwilling. Who would be willing to let go of such a beautiful wife? A loser who ran a fruit stall. What's more, he already liked her. Because of Jiang Xiu's persistence, his parents suffered in the end. Jiang Xiu's father argued with Cheng Hanlin, and Cheng Hanlin agreed to marry him. However, on the day he left the Cheng family, Jiang Xiu's father was hit by a car. He didn't die, but he was paralyzed for life. Jiang Xiu's father didn't want to be a burden, and on a night of thunder and lightning, he committed suicide. Jiang Xiu's mother, who had helped him in difficult times, also died. Jiang Xiu would never forget that night. That night, he was torn apart by pain and despair. He walked past Lingsu step by step, the cold light in his eyes shooting out. At that time he was really too ignorant and too stupid. With Lingsu's high standards, how could she fall for him? The person he liked was Yi Wenchen, the son of a high official, who was the most influential person in the school. Later on, one of them was admitted to Imperial Capital University, while the other was directly recommended. From then on, they reached the pinnacle of life and became an upper-class aristocrat. Unfortunately, this wasn't his previous life. From a cowardly and incompetent person that you all disdained, this lord had grown into a towering tree that could cover the entire world. In front of this lord, even the ruler of a star field had to bow down, let alone a mere upstart. Of course, Lingsu knew that the person who walked past him was his fiancée. A trace of disdain flashed through his eyes. Compared to Yi Wenchen beside him, the difference was too great. Jiang Xiu wasn't even worthy to carry Yi Wenchen's shoes. Not only was Yi Wenchen's appearance outstanding, but he was also the president of the student council. His family was a high official. Whether it was his appearance, ability, or family affairs, they were all first class. He was also one of her pursuers. To outsiders, the relationship between the two was almost like a semi-public couple. The three of them separated. In the classroom, almost all the students had arrived. He was the last one to enter the classroom. However, he saw that Jiang Xiu was still steadily walking into the classroom, completely ignoring the class teacher, Miju Shirtai, whose face was dark. Brother Xiu is awesome. He actually dares to walk so slowly. He completely ignored Shirtai's murderous gaze. My brother is awesome. Jiang Xiu's seat was at the back. Normally, the weaker students would sit at the back. Seeing Jiang Xiu walk slowly to the front of the podium, Miju Shirtai couldn't bear it anymore. She picked up the broken ruler on the table and forcefully hit Jiang Xiu's back, causing him to stagger. Audacious, you actually dare to sneak attack me. He looked back angrily, only to be met with a pair of eyes that were even more perverted than his. Hurry up. Do you want the whole class to wait for you? Jiang Xiu remembered this Miju Shirtai. She was the class teacher for the 3 years of high school. In the past, she had been scolded and reprimanded many times. She was a psychopath who couldn't get over menopause. If she didn't find someone to scold, she would feel uncomfortable for the whole day. Good, very good. I'll tolerate you for now. Wait until my magic power recovers. I'll show you. What are you glaring at? You're not convinced? Hurry up and sit down. Jiang Xiu was furious. In the immortal martial continent, whoever dared to speak to him like this was already a dead man. He walked back to his seat angrily. When he walked past Yi Bing, he saw that the corner of Yi Bing's mouth was raised. She looked at him with a gloating expression. In her eyes, there were only 2 words. Serves you right. The class teacher said with a serious face, there will be an English exam in the morning. This time, the exam will be more difficult. I hope that everyone will show their best ability and let me see what level you have reached. Class monitor, pass the exam papers. Exams for the 3rd year of high school were the norm. There was a small exam every 3 days, and an exam every 7 days. Jiang Xiu received the English exam papers and sneered in his heart. This was a superficial language. He didn't study hard when he was in school, and didn't know many words. Moreover, 3,000 years had passed. He might not even remember F***ck swish 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 swish. The students in the class were all answering the questions at lightning speed. Every one of them was very serious. They were already in the 3rd year of high school. They had studied hard for more than 10 years just for this exam. Jiang Xiu felt a voice calling out to him. The void sacrificial note talisman was responding. He was delighted. How could his spell not work? Ignorant and stupid girl. The transmission of sound was too slow. Moreover, no matter how strong one was, they wouldn't be able to transmit their voice across the universe. The only thing they could do was appear. With a single word, runes appeared on the English exam paper out of thin air. Sound couldn't be transmitted, but seed could be transmitted across space. The runes appeared in an orderly manner, as if someone was writing on the paper with a pen. However, they weren't written in modern language, but rather ancient oracle bone inscriptions. He couldn't understand them at all, but he could tell that they weren't written randomly. The runes formed their own system, and gave off a sense of boundless antiquity. So it was Sword One. Sword One was his first disciple. The general content of the letter was, Master, the disposable flying swords are on their way. The materials and pills for primary cultivation are also on their way. They are expected to reach Earth in 321 years. I wish Master a pleasant journey back home. 321 years? Bastard. The teacher of spiritual cultivation was so angry that he almost flipped the table. A normal person would be considered super old if they lived for 100 years. 300 years? By then, I'd be nothing but a pile of bones. These little brats are unreliable. It's all my fault for being blind. Why couldn't I have taken in someone a bit smarter? Even though he was angry, he still had to think of a solution. Seeing that the seed on the exam paper was about to disappear, Jiang Xiu had a thought and muttered something. On the platform, Spinster Miju had already noticed Jiang Xiu. Everyone else was busy working on the exam paper, but he was the only one who kept making small movements. But right at the very next moment, Spinster Miju's eyes opened wide. Because Jiang Xiu had actually bitten himself so hard that blood flowed out of his finger. Then he suddenly pointed his finger at the paper. What's the meaning of this? Are you trying to mutilate yourself to protest? And you're saying you can't beat me? Don't bite your finger if you dare, just cut yourself with a knife. Sacrificial blood spirit absorption. Jiang Xiu's eyes flashed with an evil glint as his bloody finger touched the runes on the paper. This was an evil scripture, a very vicious one. It used blood as a medium to absorb another person's spirit energy for their own use. It was a unique evil technique of the Xuesha clan. Because of their heaven-defying ability to create blood, it allowed them to cast spells for a long time, as well as continuously absorb the opponent's spirit energy. Although Jianyi's seed was very weak, it was still very precious to Jiang Xiu right now. At the very least, it allowed him to have a bit of spirit energy and not be like a normal person. Right after that, Jiang Xiu felt a warm flow of blood flowing from his fingertip into his body. His eyes lit up. Is this power? He lightly clenched his fist and the power flowed into his fist, giving off a faint glow. At this point, Jiang Xiu felt like he could punch a hole through the desk in front of him with a single punch. This should mean I've reached Qi training stage 1. Although I'm as weak as an ant, it's still better than nothing. Ring ring ring. The bell signaling the end of class rang. The spinster Miju said, "All right, everyone put down your pens. The class monitor will put away the papers." When Li Yuyang put away Jiang Xiu's paper, he frowned and said, "Jiang Xiu, what's wrong with you? The papers are all empty. Is this how you treat an exam?" Jiang Xiu said, "None of your business, just mind your own business. All you do is use a chicken feather as a token of authority. Do you really think the class monitor is an official?" Chapter 6. Li Yuyang didn't expect that the usually well-behaved Jiang Xiu wouldn't give him any face today. He was so angry that his eyes widened. While Brother Xiu is so fierce today, he actually dared to go against the class monitor, and didn't even answer a single question. Did he go berserk? Miju Shirtai had been watching Jiang Xiu for a long time. Seeing that he was causing trouble, she walked over. "What's going on?" Li Yuyang immediately reported. "Teacher, he didn't answer a single question in the exam." The students were in an uproar. Brother Xiu was causing trouble. There were multiple choice questions in the English exam. At the very least, one could just guess. Not answering a single question was clearly challenging the teacher's authority. What? Miju Shirtai's face immediately turned gloomy. She picked up the exam paper and glanced at it. The exam paper was clean. He really didn't answer a single question, including multiple choice questions. Why didn't he answer a single question, not even multiple choice questions? Why? He's afraid of failing and embarrassing himself. So he just didn't answer a single question? Miju Shirtai looked at Jiang Xiu with contempt. She had a bad impression of Jiang Xiu. Even if he tried his best, he wouldn't be able to score many points. "Give me a pen." Jiang Xiu smiled coldly. He placed his left hand behind his back and opened his right hand. His desk mate beside him even put a pen in his hand. He started to tick on the exam paper. He didn't tick many and only ticked 12 questions. After he finished, he stood with his hands behind his back, looking calm and composed. Miju Shirtai was suspicious. She said to the class monitor, Li Yuyang, "Go and bring the correct answers from the podium." The first question, correct. The second question, correct. The third question, correct. Seeing Miju Shirtai ticking the exam paper one by one, the students at the side were in an uproar. The more Miju Shirtai corrected, the more shocked she became. The fourth question, correct. The fifth question, correct. The students were in an uproar. Miju Shirtai's face turned pale. The sixth question. Seventh. Yes, all of them were correct. Jiang Xiu's eloquent answers were all correct. There were a total of 12 questions, and not a single one was wrong. A drop of cold sweat slid down Miju Shirtai's forehead onto her pale face. This was a 5-point multiple choice question. There were 12 questions in total, which was exactly 60 points. Jiang Xiu passed. All the students present were shocked. Today's questions were very difficult. Some of the students who were good at English felt that it would be good if they could get half of the questions right. But Jiang Xiu got all of them right. What was even more frightening was that he only did 12 questions and got 60 marks. Not 1 mark more, not 1 mark less. It was just the passing mark. Abbess Miju said that he was afraid of failing the exam, so he didn't do it. Didn't he pass? Moreover, he did it in such a domineering way. Brother Xiu's strength was a slap in the face. Empress Dowager Miju's face was burning. Impossible. How could it be? How could a student with such poor grades do everything right? No matter how much she couldn't believe it, everything in front of her eyes was really happening. He didn't do it not because he was afraid of failing, but because he didn't want to. It's just shadow borrowing. Ignorant and stupid. Jiang Xiu stretched out his hand and took the test paper back. In front of Abbess Miju, he tore the test paper into 2 halves, stacked them, and tore them again until they were torn into pieces. What's so difficult about such a shallow and superficial language? Compared to my magnificent Chinese, it's just like a child learning to speak. What a waste of time. No one dared to say that Jiang Xiu was impudent and savage, because Jiang Xiu had the qualifications to do so. This sovereign's magic power has already begun to show. How could he be bullied by ants like you? The spiritual cultivation's long hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes shot out. The hand that was holding the torn test paper suddenly flung it. Whoosh. The paper shreds filled the sky. They fluttered in the air like snowflakes falling in winter. Miju, you better remember this. In the future, this sovereign will never come to English classes again. It exploded. The whole classroom was in an uproar. A deafening applause sounded. The students crazily applauded. Abbess Miju's face alternated between green and white. You guys. How could she still have the face to stay in the classroom? She angrily left. It was as if she was running away. When she reached the door, her legs went soft, and she almost fell to the ground. Jiang Xiu, you're really something. You're too awesome. We misjudged you before. Bro, you're really awesome. Jiang Xiu wasn't angry at Abbess Miju. Instead, he was angry at the devil that oppressed them. What Jiang Xiu tore apart wasn't the test paper, but the mountain that oppressed them. Venting, it was too venting. I really couldn't tell. Jiang Xiu is actually quite manly. Lu Xiaoyan quietly said to Yi Budian. Yi Bing was also quite shocked. However, she didn't say anything. Lu Xiaoyan on the side elbowed her and said, He's not as useless as you said. Do you want to consider getting back together? After all, you guys have already done that. Yi Bing was shocked. Do you want to die? Be quiet. Stupid Xiaoyan, don't talk nonsense. There's nothing going on between me and him. Jiang Xiu appeared in her room. However, she was very clear that that kind of thing didn't happen. If you keep talking nonsense and others hear you, this lady will fight it out with you. She was now extremely worried. She was afraid that what happened at home would spread to the school. If her classmates knew about it, then how would she live? Lu Xiaoyan teased and said, Look at you. Your face is so red. Yi Bing touched her face. It was boiling hot. What are you all arguing about? What's going on with your class? A short fatty with a dark face walked into the classroom. He had his hands behind his back and his eyes were wide open. He had a fierce and serious face. It was as if he didn't like anyone. Director Wang. This was the discipline master. The class monitor, Li Yuyang, ran over to complain. Director Wang, this brat Jiang Xiu is crazy. He angered our teacher and left. He also disturbed the class. When these words were said, many students frowned. It was unfair to exaggerate. Why didn't they notice before that Li Yuyang was also a master of sowing discord? Jiang Xiu looked at the person who came. He still remembered this face. Wang Xuebin. The reason why he remembered him so clearly was because his impression of him was too deep. This person was simply a scum. He accidentally saw Wang Xuebin harassing a female student. However, at that time he was too timid to say anything. For this, Jiang Xiu felt guilty and ashamed for a long time. Probably not long after Jiang Xiu and the others finished their college entrance exams, it was exposed that Wang Xuebin was suspected of harassing female students several times. As many as 7 female students were victims. Bastard! Director Wang said fiercely. Jiang Xiu, come out. It was almost an order. There was no room for doubt. He had always ordered his students around. He didn't have a deep impression of Jiang Xiu. What was the situation now? Did he want to rebel? He had the guts. If he didn't teach him a lesson, wouldn't he turn the sky upside down? At this time, everyone couldn't help but sympathize with Jiang Xiu. This was the discipline master, the natural enemy of the students. This person was abnormal to the extreme. If Abbas Miju was a level 1 abnormal, then he was a level 1 abnormal. Many students, not to mention seeing him, just mentioning him would make their hearts turn cold. Their faces would turn green and their hands and feet would turn cold. If they bumped into him on campus, everyone would take a detour. He was simply like a man-eating scourge. Jiang Xiu was doomed this time. He had fallen into his hands. F***ck your sister. If this was the immortal martial continent, Jiang Xiu would have directly punched him to death. Scram for this sovereign. Silence, a deathly silence. F***ck. Today Brother Xiu is invincible. He will destroy whoever he sees. The class monitor and his friends were all stunned. They were convinced. They were completely convinced. Oh my God! Did I hear wrongly? Jiang Xiu cursed Wang Xuebin in front of his face. Sometimes everyone would curse behind his back, but who would dare to curse in front of Wang Xuebin? Wang Xuebin was stunned. He was really stunned. After a while he came back to his senses. He flew into a rage and roared. How dare you? You actually dared to curse a teacher in front of everyone. You. How could Wang Xuebin, who was used to being awe-inspiring in front of the students, endure such humiliation? His face was ashen. He took a deep breath and directly rushed into the classroom, wanting to drag Jiang Xiu out. But just as he stretched out his hand, he saw Jiang Xiu smiling coldly. Slap. Jiang Xiu stretched out his hand and directly slapped Wang Xuebin's face. In front of spiritual cultivation, Wang Xuebin, an ant, was directly slapped to the ground. You dare to hit this sovereign? Idiot. Stunned. The whole classroom was dead silent. Did I see wrongly? Jiang Xiu beat Wang Xuebin? After this slap, Jiang Xiu still felt that it was not enough to vent his anger. He went up and kicked Wang Xuebin a few more times. Chapter 7. Wang Xuebin fell to the ground and held his head in his hands. He still had the authority of the discipline director and shouted, "Little bastard, how dare you hit your teacher?" In his heart he thought fiercely, "You're dead. How dare you hit me?" But before he could finish his words, Jiang Xiu kicked him again. "I'm hitting you, you bastard! Ouch! I'm going to die!" Wang Xuebin screamed. Seeing Jiang Xiu beat up the discipline director, Wang Xuebin, not only did he slap him, but he also rushed up and kicked him. This scene was too exciting, and they didn't dare to look at it. The students present were shocked, but they also felt relieved. They couldn't wait to see Jiang Xiu step on him a few more times. It was obvious how unpopular this discipline director was. However, the spiritual cultivation matter was blown out of proportion. Hitting the discipline director, he might be expelled. The most conservative estimate was that he would get a serious demerit. Jiang Xiu is going to be unlucky. I heard that his family is not well off. If he is expelled, I'm afraid he will become a gangster. A person like him, even if he gets into a university, he won't be able to do much. In their words, they were still disdainful of Jiang Xiu. Even if he had the courage to tear up the test paper, even if he dared to hit the discipline director, in the eyes of these students, Jiang Xiu was still Jiang Xiu. In the eyes of these students, Jiang Xiu was still the same Jiang Xiu, the same Jiang Xiu who had a fruit stall at home. This was the era that paid attention to economy and background. If a poor boy wanted to break free from the shackles of fate, the inevitable result would be to break his head and bleed. Especially in the class, when faced with Jiang Xiu, there was always a sense of superiority. They looked down on Jiang Xiu and felt that no matter what he did, He would not be able to change the inferior person in their eyes. Blood, blood. Wang Xuebin rubbed his head. Blood was flowing out, and his face was covered in blood. He looked very miserable. Now he knew fear. This was a ruthless character. He hurriedly begged for mercy. Spare me, please spare me. Only then did Jiang Xiu vent his anger. Luckily, this bastard was in Jiang City and had the protection of the law. If they were in the immortal martial continent, Jiang Xiu wouldn't even blink an eye to kill him. He's too impulsive. The consequences are definitely not something that he can bear. I heard that B*TCH Wang has some background. Maybe Jiang Xiu will go to jail. When the female students heard this, their eyes were filled with sympathy. No way. Why wouldn't he? He's already bleeding. This is a criminal offense. Wang Xuebin looked at Jiang Xiu and said with fear and anger, "This is a crime. You will go to jail." Jail. Jiang Xiu was so angry that he laughed. He grabbed onto Wang Xuebin's hair and said beside his ear, "Grandson, don't think that others don't know what you've done. I personally saw you molesting by Ro in the classroom." Boom. Wang Xuebin's brain exploded. His mung-bean eyes were about to fall out. Jiang Xiu remembered that day. The sky was about to turn dark, and he was living in the dormitory. He left his things in the classroom and ran back to get them. However, he saw a scene that he would never forget for the rest of his life. Wang Xuebin, this bastard, had his hands on a helpless female student. Wang Xuebin's back was facing him, so he didn't see it. However, the female student saw him. He would never forget the gaze that the female student gave him for help. She was so hesitant, so helpless, but more than that, she was ashamed. However, the cowardly Jiang Xiu ran away. He didn't even dare to mention it to anyone. Jiang Xiu said, "Okay, call the police. Let the police handle this." No. Wang Xuebin was so scared that his soul almost flew away. If this matter was exposed, his career, his family, and his reputation would all be gone. He would also have to face jail. "Don't call the police." With a putong sound, Wang Xuebin knelt in front of Jiang Xiu's feet. "Please don't call the police. As long as you don't call the police, I will listen to you in the future. Don't call the police, I beg you." Hua. The surrounding students were all stunned. What kind of situation was this? The one who hit someone wants to call the police, and the one who was hit is kneeling and begging him not to call the police. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Could it be that this Wang Xuebin was beaten silly by Jiang Xiu? He was beaten like this, yet he didn't pursue the matter, and even said that he would listen to Jiang Xiu in the future. Could it be Qian Xiaojun, who was beside the class monitor, said softly, "Class monitor, this matter is strange. This Jiang Xiu can't be a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Who knows, he might be a rich and powerful young master." His words awakened the people in the dream. The class monitor, Li Yuyang, suddenly looked back. He felt that what Qian Xiaojun said was very reasonable. Just now, Jiang Xiu said a few words beside Wang Xuebin, and Wang Xuebin was so scared that his eyes almost popped out. He must have revealed his true identity. He usually wore ragged clothes, but today he suddenly wore a limited edition Adidas sports set. And it was a golf set. This set was worth several thousand yuan. He also said that he wasn't a rich second generation. "Young Master Xiu, you're really good. You hit it so well." "It's very likely. Look at how scared Wang Xuebin was. He even said that he would listen to him in the future. I'm afraid that he is not only rich, but his background is also not ordinary." At this time, the school also received the news. Principal Qin Lin, who was in his early 50s, hurried over with several strong security guards. Seeing Wang Xuebin being beaten by a student, and being so scared that he couldn't control himself, and even knelt on the ground to beg for mercy, Principal Qin Lin was so angry that his whole body trembled. You are not like a student at all. You beat the discipline master like this." Wang Xuebin hurriedly said, No, Principal, it's not Jiang Xiu's fault. It's me. I fell down by accident." "Damn, where's your integrity? Could he be any more blatant in his lies? How can you fall down and injure yourself like this?" All the students at the scene started to doubt their lives. The class monitor and Lu Xiaojun looked at each other, and saw the look in each other's eyes. It was as expected. Look at how scared Wang Xuebin was. The principal was not easy to fool. What? You fell down by yourself? How can you injure yourself like this? Your head is bleeding, and there are footprints all over your body. Xuebin, don't be afraid. The school, and the government are here. Wang Xuebin forced out a smile that was uglier than crying. Haha, it's nothing, it's nothing. I was just comparing notes with classmate Jiang Xiao. I didn't expect that I wouldn't exercise for too long and accidentally fell down. Classmate Jiang Xiao came to help me up and accidentally stepped on me. Misunderstanding, a huge misunderstanding? All the students at the scene started to doubt their lives for the second time. Could it be that the matter of Jiang Xiao ruthlessly stomping on his body didn't happen? Jiang Xiao, good job. Your body is in good shape. No one else can praise his opponent's body after being beaten up. Everyone, you must learn from Jiang Xiao. The third year of high school is very stressful. Because of this, you must focus on your physical fitness. If you do not have a good body, you will be overwhelmed by the workload before you even enter the exam. All the students at the scene started to doubt their lives for the third time. Their souls were floating in the sky. In the corner near the window, a girl with a Republican hairstyle lowered her head. She was wearing a pair of spectacles that covered half of her face. She was holding a ballpoint pen tightly, and her shoulders were shaking violently. She did not dare to raise her head, nor did she dare to look at anyone. But she knew that the devil was beaten by Jiang Xiao. She once hated Jiang Xiao, hated that he did not save her. But now Jiang Xiao beat the devil. It turned out that the devil was not so terrible. Finally, after a few minutes of mental battle, she raised her head and looked at Jiang Xiao. Her eyes flashed with a trace of joy and gratitude. Jiang Xiao did not care whether she thanked him or not. He felt that he was atoning for his sins. Seeing Bai Rou breathe a sigh of relief, Jiang Xiao knew that this poor girl would not be like last time. She would not write her last will and walk into a dead end. Okay, everyone study by yourselves first. Principal Qin Lin did not believe Wang Xuebin's words. Wang Xuebin was beaten to such a state, but the victim, Wang Xuebin, insisted on saying so. Qin Lin had no other choice. He noticed that Wang Xuebin's forehead was still bleeding. Go to the infirmary to treat your wounds first. The news spread like the wind in the campus. In another class, a boy reported to Yi Wenchen. Did you hear? Wang Xuebin was beaten by a student named Jiang Xiao from the 5th class. His injuries are very serious. His head is bleeding. There is such a student? What is Jiang Xiao's background? Yi Wenchen was such a famous person. Why would he pay attention to a small loser student? Cheng Lingsu, who was standing beside Yi Wenchen, was still calm on the face. But in her heart, she was shocked. That guy dared to beat Wang Xuebin? He had the guts. This was impressive. But it was the courage of an ignorant man. The consequences were not something you could bear. At that time, your father would have to come to my house for help again. She decided to go and find Jiang Xiao. Did he really think that the resources of the Cheng family were his own? Chapter 8. Cheng Lingsu's eyes flashed with disdain. Once upon a time, she worshipped Jiang Xiao because Jiang Xiao ran very fast. When she was about 3 or 4 years old, Cheng Lingsu couldn't catch up to him no matter how hard she tried. She cried as she chased after him. At that time, she thought that big brother Jiang Xiao was very powerful, and that no one could compare to him. Only when she grew up did she realize that Jiang Xiao was just a weakling. What a laughable childhood. Moreover, that person had that kind of relationship with her. This made Cheng Lingsu feel very awkward. What was laughable was that he even swore that he would take good care of her. What kind of care? He didn't know at all. The relationship between the two gradually drifted apart as their family's wealth grew. Actually, Jiang Xiao's personality was not bad. He was quiet and attentive. The girl sighed in her heart. The wheel of fate had guided everything. Your family background and ability had determined that we could only be ordinary friends. In the end, we might even become strangers. Since that was the case, she had to let him understand that he had no chance of becoming the Cheng family's son-in-law. He would forever be an outsider. If that was the case, Jiang Xiu wouldn't have the face to use the Chung family's resources. This was for his own good, wasn't it? She wanted him to stop indulging in the sweet dream of sitting back and enjoying the fruits of others' labor. She wanted him to wake up earlier and understand what his future life would be like. Jiang Xiu was a resident student. After class, he returned to the dormitory. The first thing he did was to change out of the Golf Series Adidas. This was Yi Bing's father's clothes. No matter how good other people's clothes were, it was still uncomfortable to wear them. Rummaging through the clothes he wore in high school, Jiang Xiu felt as if a lifetime had passed. Every piece of clothing he wore was from a roadside stall. He was used to wearing luxurious clothes of spiritual cultivation. He didn't feel that it was ugly at all. Instead, it was very intimate. After putting it on, he looked at himself in the mirror. Sure enough, Buddha relies on gold and horses rely on saddles. Even the tyrant of our generation in the immortal martial continent, the dignified headmaster of the Tianxing school, Jiang Xiu, who was known for his spiritual cultivation, immediately turned back into a loser. The thick aura of a loser was simply overwhelming. The phone on the bed suddenly rang. The phone could not be brought into the classroom, but it could be brought into the school. Under normal circumstances, students would leave their phones in the dormitory so that it would not affect their studies. However, many people would still violate the rules and bring their cell phones into the classroom. Jiang Xiu also had a cell phone. Although it was broken, it was still usable and convenient for him to contact his family. Cheng Lingsu. The caller ID was Su Su. Jiang Xiu was very surprised that Cheng Lingsu would take the initiative to call him. After thinking about it, he picked it up. Hello. Spiritual Cultivation's voice was deep and magnetic. Jiang Xiu, let's meet. The voice was very pleasant to the ear, but the tone was as cold as usual. Jiang Xiu said, Okay. This sovereign is in the dormitory, you can come. The other side of the phone suddenly went silent. After a while, Cheng Lingsu did not say anything. Cheng Lingsu said before that they could not let their classmates know that they knew each other, and even more, that they could not let their classmates know about their relationship. She made this call to break up with Jiang Xiu. However, she did not expect that she would be checkmated by Jiang Xiu instead. If she, a girl, went to the male dormitory to look for Jiang Xiu, wouldn't that be telling the whole school that they knew each other, and that their relationship was not ordinary? Jiang Xiu's eyes turned cold as he faintly smiled. Do you think that this sovereign is still the Jiang Xiu from my previous life? This sovereign will do whatever you say, obey whatever you say, and dote on you? Ignorant, stupid. It's not convenient for me to go to your place, you can come out. Jiang Xiu said. This sovereign doesn't have time. If it was the Jiang Xiu from his previous life, he would definitely be so happy that he would jump 3 feet high and ignore everything and go to the appointment. However, this time Jiang Xiu refused very firmly. Jiang Xiu indeed did not have time, he wanted to cultivate. Now that there was a bit of spiritual power in his body, he wanted to step on the path of cultivation again. If there was no spiritual power in the outside world, then he would forcefully extract it from his blood. He wanted to carry out the blood awakening. The other side of the phone went silent again. At this time, Cheng Lingsu was already in 1,000 feathers and 1,000 wishes. She did not expect that Jiang Xiu would refuse, and refuse so firmly. From the moment she picked up the phone, she felt that Jiang Xiu seemed to be a lot colder towards her. If it was in the past, when she took the initiative to call him, his enthusiasm would make Cheng Lingsu feel disgusted. It won't take up too much of your time, just 5 minutes. After saying this, Cheng Lingsu had a strange feeling. What's wrong with me? Why does this tone sound like I'm begging him? Have I gone crazy? Jiang Xiu said. Do you know how to cook? Why did he suddenly ask this? Cheng Lingsu was a dignified young lady. There were servants at home and high-end restaurants outside. Why would she need to learn how to cook? Following Jiang Xiu's question, she said, I don't know. Jiang Xiu said, Oh, if you don't know how to cook, then do you know how to wash clothes? There were servants at home and many dry cleaners outside. Moreover, Miss Cheng's clothes had never been washed before. She only needed to wear them twice to complete her mission in history. And something's wrong. The sensitive Miss Cheng felt that something was wrong. After being asked by Jiang Xiu, she seemed to be useless. She did not know how to cook or wash clothes. This kind of girl was the most annoying. She did not know how to do anything. She felt like she was being despised and looked down upon. Miss Chung reacted quickly. Of course I know. Why are you asking this? Jiang Xiu glanced at the pile of unwashed clothes on the bed and said, Okay, where do we meet? Chung Lingsu said, 1,000 Feathers and 1,000 Wishes on Beitang Road. This sovereign will definitely be there as scheduled. It would be a waste not to use a servant who delivered herself to the door. In the shop of 1,000 Feathers and 1,000 Wishes, Chung Lingsu sat there quietly. She ordered a cup of coffee and savored it carefully. She had a high exposure rate in the university and many people knew her. Therefore, she arranged to meet at Beitang Road, which was 20 minutes away from the university by bus. She did not want to be seen by classmates or acquaintances. Although he had left for more than 3,000 years, Jiang Xiu was born and grew up here. Of course, getting lost would not happen to him in spiritual cultivation. 20 minutes later, he arrived at the entrance of 1,000 Feathers and 1,000 Wishes. The young lady noticed Jiang Xiu at the door and slightly raised her snow-white hand. Here. Jiang Xiu nodded slightly. Everything was very indifferent. He was neither overbearing nor holding a grudge. You came. Jiang Xiu immediately sat down and said, Since this sovereign said that he would come, naturally he would come. He casually placed a bag under the table. Chung Lingsu smiled slightly. What do you want to eat? Jiang Xiu said. The guests will follow the host's wishes. What urgent matter do you have to invite this sovereign here today? Chung Lingsu found it funny. Why did he speak in such a genteel manner, and even use the ancient language? Was he trying to arouse her curiosity and attract her attention? This was too childish. You can order. Chung Lingsu handed the menu over. This was a steak restaurant, but it was not like those roadside restaurants that only cost a few dozen RMB. This was the best restaurant in Jiangcheng, and the chefs were all French. The price of a filet mignon on the menu was 1,888 renminbi. Chung Lingsu knew that Jiang Xiu's monthly living expenses were 300 renminbi. In other words, he could only afford this steak if he did not eat or drink for half a year. She added, Don't worry about not having money, it's my treat. This was blatant mockery. Jiang Xiu's expression did not change. Then let's order the number 1 set meal. Chung Lingsu's voice was gentle and polite as she said to the waiter, Number 1 set meal and number 2 set meal, thank you. All right, please wait for a moment. Jiang Xiu said, Don't tell me that you only want to treat this sovereign to a meal today. In his previous life, to be able to have a meal alone with the young lady in front of him was simply a luxury. Chung Lingsu said, I heard that you caused trouble in school and beat up the discipline director, Teacher Wang. Moreover, your injuries were very serious. Actually, she had specially sent someone to investigate Teacher Wang's injuries. There were 12 stitches on his head, moderate concussion, a broken rib at his waist and countless bruises. This already constituted a criminal offense. Jiang Xiu said disapprovingly, That's right. Chung Lingsu's brows wrinkled. Did you consider the consequences at that time? Not only will the school expel you, you will also have to face 3 to 5 years of prison. Jiang Xiu still disapproved. What do you plan to do? Seeing Jiang Xiu's indifferent attitude, Chung Lingsu was very angry. You're so fearless, who gave you the guts? Isn't it the Chung family? Jiang Xiu, you weren't like this when you were young. Chung Lingsu wanted to find a good point about Jiang Xiu in the past, but regrettably, please forgive our Miss Chung for being incompetent, she really couldn't find anything. After all, she couldn't say that you were very fast when you were young, right? My Chung family will help you one last time. From now on, our 2 families will go their separate ways. Our relationship also ends here. Annul the engagement. Chapter 9. This sentence was said 7 years earlier. The last time Jiang Xiu heard this sentence, he felt as if he was struck by lightning. At that time, he was completely stupefied. He felt as if the whole world had turned dark, and he couldn't see a trace of light anymore. But this time he didn't feel anything. 3,000 years had passed. Jiang Xiu had experienced the sea. His heart had already become light. In his previous life, Cheng Lingsu was very important to his life. She was practically his everything. But in this life, Cheng Lingsu was really not important at all. If there was someone in his hometown that he couldn't let go of, it would only be her. But it definitely wouldn't be the Cheng Lingsu in front of him. Seeing Jiang Xiu being so calm, Cheng Lingsu was very shocked. She had thought that Jiang Xiu would beg her bitterly, or even become angry out of humiliation, or even threaten her with death. But she had never thought that Jiang Xiu would be so calm. Cheng Lingsu asked, "The times are different now. Everyone has the right to choose their own life and decide their own fate." Looking at this beautiful and alluring girl, Jiang Xiu felt that he was simply ignorant and stupid in the past. He had given all of his love to her, but what he got in return was heartlessness and indifference, as well as the price of his father's life. "Of course, our Chung family will give you some compensation." Compensation? My father went from a high and mighty official to a prisoner, and from then on he was unable to recover. My mother went from a rich family's young miss to now stand in front of a fruit stall and hawking. And I, the supreme overlord, suffered all kinds of hardships, and was unable to raise my head in front of my classmates and friends. All of this is thanks to your Chung family. If you really want to compensate me, then return all of my glory, splendor, wealth, and rank back to me. But this kind of condition, can you afford to compensate me? You self-righteous woman. Jiang Xiu said word by word. I don't agree. Cheng Lingsu was very angry. She thought that he had thought it through when she saw his indifference. She even felt a little disappointed because of Jiang Xiu's indifference. He should have thought about it. He would not give up so easily. For him, the Cheng family was wealth and glory at his fingertips. Ordinary people could not get it even if they worked hard for several lifetimes. How could he give it up so easily? Jiang Xiu, you should be able to tell that I don't like you. Jiang Xiu smiled coldly. Once upon a time, this sentence was like a knife stabbing into his heart. Cheng Lingsu asked, think about it carefully. You can't force a melon to be sweet. You are also an adult. You should understand this principle. If you are worried about the problem of compensation, don't worry. You know my father. He will definitely not treat your family unfairly. It will be enough to let you and your parents live a good life in the future. Uncle and auntie will also not have to work so hard to sell fruits. The waiter served the food. It was filet mignon imported from France. Tonight, Jiang Xiu planned to awaken his bloodline. This was very physically exhausting, so steak was just right for dinner. There were cultivators, practitioners, sorcerers in Yang school. There were thousands of them. However, they all needed spiritual energy as the foundation for cultivation. But in his hometown, there was no spiritual energy at all. He could only find a shortcut and stimulate the potential of his bloodline. He awakened his bloodline and let it continue to grow. This kind of cultivation method was called God cultivation. According to legend, humans were the descendants of God. Therefore, everyone had the bloodline of God in their body. It was just that after a long time, the bloodline would become very thin. God cultivation was to unearth the potential of one's bloodline and strengthen it step by step. This relied more on talent than any other cultivation method. The first stage was the awakening stage. There were a total of 9 stages. Once one's bloodline was awakened, they would become another kind of existence, another kind of race. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were Protoss. Every movement they made would have the strength of 1,000 pounds, and they would be as fast as a galloping horse. In the later stage of the awakening stage, they would be able to fly in the air, teleport in an instant, call the wind and summon the rain, and control fire and thunder. Jiang Xiu was quite curious. Which Protoss would his innate bloodline be inherited from? Or perhaps, if it was too much of a hybrid, it would be a completely new kind of Protoss. Cheng Lingsu asked, have you thought about it? Jiang Xiu said, it's still the same. This sovereign doesn't agree. Cheng Lingsu was furious. Jiang Xiu, then you can just wait to go to jail. Don't expect my father to help you. Unfortunately, my father has gone abroad. This time, he will be gone for half a year. When he comes back half a year later, you will already be in jail. Jiang Xiu smiled faintly. Is that so? He believed Cheng Lingsu's words. Cheng Lingsu's father often went abroad, and according to the time, the Cheng family should be preparing to go public. It was very likely that Cheng Lingsu's father wasn't in the country. As for Cheng Lingsu's snobbish mother, she couldn't wait for her to break off the engagement with him. Cheng Lingsu said, "You're in your 3rd year of high school right now. If you go to jail, you won't be able to take the college entrance exam. When you come out 3 to 5 years later, other people will have already graduated from university. You'll still be carrying the reputation of a reform-through-labor prisoner. What kind of future do you have? Don't let your emotions affect your decisions." Think about it carefully. Jiang Xiu couldn't help but nod his head. If this was his previous life, he would have probably already compromised. What you said makes sense. All right, this sovereign agrees to break off the engagement. Cheng Lingsu was overjoyed. Really? As expected, anyone would choose to compromise when faced with the possibility of going to jail. Jiang Xiu nodded his head. No matter what, we can still be considered as husband and wife. Then he took out a bag from under the table. You should also help this sovereign do something. Cheng Lingsu asked suspiciously, "What is this?" Pulling open the zipper, she saw a bag full of smelly clothes. Cheng Lingsu almost fainted from the smell. She hurriedly covered her mouth and nose and said angrily, "Jiang Xiu, are you playing with me?" Jiang Xiu said, "Wash the clothes clean. You've never done anything for this sovereign before. This can also be considered as fulfilling your duty as a fiancé." Hearing Jiang Xiu say this, Cheng Lingsu was slightly moved. Speaking of which, they had been engaged since they were young. This relationship was about to break off soon. She had never really done anything for him before. Washing clothes once was nothing. "All right, I promise you," Jiang Xiu said. "Waiter, give me another filet mignon. No, 2 filet mignon, take it away." Tonight, he was going to awaken his blood lineage, so he needed to replenish his energy. At that time, he would definitely be hungry. Cheng Lingsu returned to her villa. Her family was in the real estate business, so the villa she lived in was naturally gorgeous. The exterior was magnificent, and the interior was exquisite. "Second miss, washing clothes? Let me help you." Seeing Cheng Lingsu doing laundry on the balcony, the servant, Auntie Wu, hurriedly came over. Cheng Lingsu said firmly, "No, I'll wash the clothes myself this time." "Second miss, you've never washed clothes before. Let me do it." Cheng Lingsu said happily, "This time is different. This is an end, and also a brand new beginning. After washing clothes this time, I can completely get rid of him." The servant, Auntie Wu, completely did not understand what Cheng Lingsu was talking about. Seeing her insistence, she asked, "Second miss, do you want to wash with the washing machine or by hand?" Cheng Lingsu pondered for a moment. "By hand." "Jiang Xiu, I've done my best for you." "What's wrong?" A graceful and luxurious woman heard the noise and came over. The servant, Auntie Wu, explained, "Madam, the second miss insists on washing clothes by herself." This beautiful woman was not someone else, but Cheng Lingsu's biological mother, Sun Xiaohong. She was very surprised that her baby daughter did not do any household chores. She smiled and asked, "Susu, what's wrong? Why are you so obedient today?" When her eyes fell on the dirty clothes, she was even more astonished. It was a boy's clothes, and they were tattered. Her baby daughter was washing clothes for a boy. Her expression changed. Even as a mother, she had never enjoyed such treatment. "Whose clothes are these?" "They're Jiang Xiu's." Sun Xiaohong's eyes almost popped out. "What Jiang Xiu? Are you kidding me? You're washing clothes for him." "Mom." Cheng Lingsu hugged her mother's arm and said happily, "Jiang Xiu agreed. He agreed to break off the engagement with me." "What? What did you say?" "Jiang Xiu agreed to break off the engagement with you." Sun Xiaohong said, "How is this possible? Is the Jiang family so stupid?" Cheng Lingsu told Sun Xiaohong the whole story. Sun Xiaohong was overjoyed. She was the one who was most against this marriage. Because of this, she had argued with Cheng Hanlin a few times. However, Cheng Hanlin was very insistent. That's great, that's great. This is called, heaven's disaster can be avoided, but we can't escape the disaster we brought upon ourselves. In the face of the threat of being imprisoned, the Jiang family still refused to compromise. Great, we don't have to worry about the poor Jiang family anymore. Then she said, however, this matter is still a little troublesome. It's not enough to just talk about it. We must help him solve the matter of the beating after he signs a written agreement. If he doesn't sign it, we won't show up, Cheng Lingsu said with a smile. Got it. Sun Xiaohong held her daughter's hand that was stained with detergent and said, this boy's ancestors must have burned incense for 8 generations to be lucky enough to let my baby daughter wash his clothes for him. Chapter 10. The night was especially gloomy, as though the veil of night was pressing down on their heads. The moon was covered in a layer of strange light, and the yin-chi was extremely heavy. In the distant sky, lightning flashed between the dark clouds. A thunderstorm was about to arrive. Rumble. Suddenly, a heaven-shaking explosion rang out. A hole seemed to have been smashed open in the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled incessantly as heavy rain poured down. An arrogant and tyrannical figure ascended the mountain. Every step he took was filled with power. Under the support of the heavens, he appeared incomparably valiant. He raised his head and stared at the sky. The lightning illuminated his face. That was an incomparably cold face. His eyes flashed, and his aura soared to the heavens. The night that deceives the heavens, the time that covers the heavens. This is the most suitable time to awaken the Protoss bloodline. Awakening the bloodline depended on body refinement techniques. There were countless body refinement techniques in the immortal martial continent, and there were also differences in quality. Although Jiang Xiu didn't pay much attention to body refinement techniques in the past, after roaming the immortal martial continent for 3,000 years, he had collected countless secret arts, battle techniques, divine arts, and treasured weapons. Just the body refinement techniques alone amounted to a total of 103,632 types. He already had a plan in his heart. As the current headmaster of the Tianqing school, he would naturally choose the supreme technique of the Tianqing school, the Void Skywalk technique. This technique was created by the ancestor of the Tianqing school, Old Lunatic. Although he was crazy, he relied on the Void Skywalk technique to tyrannize others, defeating everyone in the starry skies with his bare hands. Old Lunatic had always been the type of person who grew stronger the stronger he met. Using this technique to awaken the bloodline was the most suitable. He wasn't crazy, he wasn't a devil, and he wasn't a devil. Roar. A thunderous roar gushed out from Jiang Xiu's mouth, causing thunder and lightning to rumble incessantly. In terms of aura alone, Jiang Xiu was so powerful that even the heavens had to fear him. Law, return to the origin. Void, return to me. Jiang Xiu looked down on the heavens and earth. His hands continuously formed seals, causing the blood in his body to surge unceasingly. His entire person seemed to be burning. When the rain fell on his body, it was like falling on a red-hot iron plate. Sizzling sounds rang out as the rain turned into steam. His blood was burning, and the genes of the Protoss hidden in his bloodline were slowly emerging. The shackles that had been sealed for thousands of years were about to be reopened. Roar! Another roar sounded. That roar resonated together with the thunder. This roar was even louder than the one before. This roar seemed to have originated from the ancient era. It contained a terrifying aura that caused people to be alarmed. This damned weather. A big black Mercedes-Benz was driving up the mountain. The driver was short and his hat was very low. There were a few people sitting in the back, but it was too dark to see their faces clearly. Roar! Jiang Xiu's eyes had changed. His originally large eyes now occupied almost the entire eye socket. They were completely black, and a stream of bright red blood flowed down from his eye sockets. The blood vessels on his face, neck, body, and arms were constantly expanding and throbbing. His bloodline had begun to awaken. Roar, roar! Jiang Xiu howled in pain like a mad ancient beast. What a terrifying roar! Could it be that there are still wild beasts in this mountain? The people in the car couldn't help but have goosebumps when they heard it. It's possible. The mountains were continuous and mysterious. A while ago, the news said that a patterned leopard was found on Mount Jing on Nanjing Road. That mountain was only as big as a fart. Many people went up there to train for many years. In the end, 2 people died and 1 was injured. The leopard was electrocuted and fell to the ground. It was really inconceivable. Roar. Another angry roar rang out. Jiang Xiu's entire body was burning like a flame. The muscles on his body were twitching nonstop. His body was emitting crackling sounds like firecrackers. He clenched his fist and felt as if his body was filled with endless power. What kind of Protoss is this? With a loud explosion, his entire body seemed to have opened up. The world in front of him was no longer the world from before. The colors became richer, and the sounds became clearer. Jiang Xiu's bloodline had awakened, but it was a Protoss that had never been seen before. The only sign was that his eyes were completely black when he displayed his bloodline. He suddenly threw a punch and hit the big tree in front of him. The tree, which was more than 30 meters tall, shook violently. Countless leaves rustled and fell. I've never seen it before. It might be a new Protoss. There were countless Protoss bloodlines. Moreover, Protoss didn't have genetic isolation. In other words, any Protoss could give birth to the next generation. Moreover, it was a never-before-seen Protoss. This caused the bloodline of Protoss to be even more complicated. It's not bad. The old tree in the deep mountains was extremely tough. Its hardness was definitely much harder than the shoddy iron on the market. A deep imprint was left on the tree by his punch. The bark cracked. It was indeed not bad to have such power after just awakening his bloodline. Awakening his bloodline consumed a lot of energy. He had already prepared food in advance and took out takeout to eat. Even after eating 2 large filet mignon steaks, which were priced at 1,888 yuan, he didn't feel full at all. Then Jiang Xiu began to meditate. He wanted to better understand his Protoss genes. He wanted to awaken the Protoss's abilities as soon as possible. The sound of wheels rolling over stones came from below. A car was going up the mountain. This made Jiang Xiu feel strange. Why would someone drive up the mountain in such bad weather at night? It was very dangerous. A bolt of lightning flashed, and a loud rumble sounded. The young man in the Mercedes-Benz said, "That Chu Tiannan, is he really as powerful as the legends say?" "Thank you, Grandpa, for coming out personally." The old man spoke. "It is said that not only is Chu Tiannan's martial cultivation extremely high, he also possesses strength that surpasses that of mortals. He is an extraordinary person of the present age. You must respect such a person and not treat him lightly. But it's too dangerous to go up the mountain in this thunderstorm." The driver also said, "Elder Tang, the road is getting steeper and steeper. There's a pavilion up ahead. Why don't we wait for the storm to stop before continuing?" The old man pondered for a moment. All right. The Mercedes-Benz drove all the way to the pavilion and stopped. Everyone got out of the car. "There's actually someone here." The 4 people entered the pavilion and their gazes fell on Jiang Xiu. The old man let out a cry of surprise. The 2 men behind him also looked surprised. "What's wrong?" the young man asked curiously. The old man said, "Look at him carefully. Is there anything different?" The young man looked at Jiang Xiu. "No, there's nothing different. However, it's strange that he's sleeping in a pavilion on a thunderstorm like this." The old man said, "Pay attention to his breathing." "This is?" The young man's eyebrows twitched. The old man said, "This is an ancient internal strength method. Many ancient sects require special weather conditions to cultivate internal strength. Just like today's thunderstorm. If I'm not wrong, he should be cultivating." Curious, the young man got closer to Jiang Xiu. Only then did he confirm what his grandfather had said. There seemed to be an invisible suction force around Jiang Xiu, drawing in the surrounding air. That wasn't all. If one listened carefully, there seemed to be the sound of thunder as Jiang Xiu breathed. The old man said, "Amazing, amazing, too amazing." At such a young age, his internal strength is actually so profound. Maybe he's already condensed a breath of true qi. Jiang Xiu slowly opened his eyes. His dark eyes were as deep and mysterious as the starry sky. It was not bad that the old man could see that he was cultivating. However, it was laughable that the old man actually treated the cultivation method as a shallow internal strength method. The old man saw Jiang Xiu open his eyes and said, Little friend, do you know Chu Tian-nan? Jiang Xiu shook his head. This surprised Elder Tang. Aren't you Chu Tian-nan's disciple? Humph. Jiang Xiu coldly snorted. You're just a cat or a dog. How dare you compare yourself to my master? In Jiang Xiu's heart, his late master had an extraordinary status. In the immortal martial continent, who dared to compare himself to his master? The driver behind the old man was shocked. You dare to humiliate Grandmaster Chu? Jiang Xiu coldly laughed. Humiliate him? I'm already flattering him. The driver said. Brat, you don't have much skill, but your tone is not small. I see that you're only at the initial stage of internal strength. Do you know what Grandmaster Chu's realm is? He's a great Grandmaster. He might have even broken through. Let me give you a piece of advice. Be humble, and don't be a frog in a well. Don't go around blindly shouting. Jiang Xiu faintly smiled. Is that so? Jiang Xiu closed his eyes and didn't say another word to them. He didn't say another word to them. The pavilion once again fell silent. About 10 minutes later, the thunderstorm stopped. The people went up again. The road became even more difficult to drive. It seemed that there were even rocks sliding down from above. The car was very bumpy. Bang! The sound of a tire burst suddenly rang out. The Mercedes-Benz, which cost more than 3 million yuan, immediately tilted. The mountain road was very narrow. Beyond the road was a cliff. The car uncontrollably fell down the cliff. Ah! The people in the car cried out in alarm. Elder Tang. Grandfather. At this moment, they were filled with panic and despair. They knew that what awaited them next was death. They would completely disappear from this world. Save me. Save me. The Mercedes-Benz was halfway over the cliff. But at this moment, a figure shot over like a galloping horse. It was like a divine soldier had descended from the heavens and grabbed the car. Chapter 11. The car rushed to the cliff. How desperate it was. Even if someone came to rescue them, they were still desperate. It was useless. No matter who came, it was useless. The weight of the Mercedes-Benz Maybach was as high as 1.5 tons. Coupled with the kinetic energy of the car rushing off the cliff, no matter how many people there were, they couldn't hold it, let alone a young man. If they tried, they would definitely fall off the cliff together with him. If I can't even hold a car, how can I save my face? Ah! Spiritual cultivation was furious. The eyeballs in his eyes seemed to have melted and turned into a pitch black, which looked extremely terrifying. The muscles on his arms swelled and his blood vessels bulged. The power of God suddenly broke out. Rise for me. The people in the car felt the car come to an abrupt stop. The Mercedes-Benz, which was falling, was suspended in the air. Not only that, but the whole car was lifted up by him with a roar. It was as light as a feather, like a black Mercedes-Benz made of foam. It exploded, it exploded. The people in the car were completely dumbfounded. They didn't know whether they were scared out of their wits or stunned by the incredible and shocking scene in front of them. Bang! The Mercedes-Benz was pulled back by the tail, and then put down heavily on the mountain road. The car was so heavy that when it landed, the tires made a big hole in the soil that was softened by the rain. Didn't fall off? The 4 people in the car woke up as if they had just woken up from a dream. They hurriedly got out of the car and stepped on the ground firmly. Only then did they feel a little relieved. Their lives were saved. But everything was still so unreal. Jiang Xiu put his hands behind his back. In the dark night, he was like a shadow. He was outstanding, and his clothes fluttered in the wind, showing the demeanor of a strong man. This young man just lifted the car with his hands? If it weren't for the 2 handprints that were 1 or 2 centimeters deep on the tail of the car, they would even think it was an illusion. Thank you for saving our lives, young man. The old man and the others hurriedly thanked him. The driver who was unhappy with Jiang Xiu just now was embarrassed at this time. It's nothing. I was helpless just now and looked down on you. I apologize to you here. Jiang Xiu coldly snorted. It's already extremely dangerous to drive up the mountain during the day. What's more, it's a stormy night. You're lucky to have met me today. Take care of yourselves. With that said, Jiang Xiu turned to leave. The old man hurriedly called out, "Sir, please wait." He quickly caught up with him and handed him a business card. "Sir, we can't repay you for saving our lives. I'm Tang Jinshan and I still have some influence in Jiang City." At this time, the old man's heart was overwhelmed with shock. Previously, he felt that Jiang Xiu's internal strength was very powerful. Now, not only did Jiang Xiu pull the Mercedes-Benz back from the cliff with his bare hands, but he also lifted it up in the air. This was really too shocking. Was he still human? As for the bodyguard who had always been by Tang Jinshan's side, he did not realize that the chief had left his protection range. His gaze did not leave the sunken palm print on the car for a long time. He had followed the chief for many years, but this was the first time he had seen such terrifying martial arts. He was dumbfounded, really dumbfounded. This strength could directly crush a person. It was too terrifying. Tang Jinshan. Jiang Xiu felt that this name was a little familiar, and casually put away the business card. Tang Jinshan said, "Sir, I don't know which sect you're from, but it actually cultivated such a shocking expert like you. I'm afraid it's at the level of a master of hard skills." Jiang Xiu said, "Can a master of hard skills do what I did just now?" Tang Jinshan nodded. A master of hard skills can be said to have reached the limit of the physical body, even surpassing the existence of human beings. They can break a steel knife with their bare hands and smash a wall with a punch. "Sir, the strength you used just now was so strong that it's difficult to do it unless you're a master of hard skills." The reason why Elder Tang thought that Jiang Xiu was a master of hard skills was because he thought that Jiang Xiu's strength was a body hardening technique. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so overbearing. Jiang Xiu smiled faintly. Hard skills couldn't be compared to divinity cultivation, but no matter how you looked at it, it was based on the body. It wasn't strange that people misunderstood. "Sir, are you also from Jiangcheng?" Jiang Xiu nodded. "Jiangcheng, Jiang Xiu." Tang Jinshan was very talkative. If it was a talented young man, he already had the intention of befriending him. This person would definitely rise like a comet in the future, and his achievements might even surpass Chu Tiannan. "Mr. Jiang, to tell you the truth, I braved the heavy rain and wind to go up the mountain just to see Chu Tiannan, Master Chu." Tang Jinshan said with a worried expression. "One of my enemies came back from abroad and wanted to cause trouble for me. It happened so suddenly that I couldn't ask anyone for help, so I could only go up the mountain to ask Master Chu." Master Chu lives in seclusion at the top of the mountain. After the heavy rain, the mountain slid, and the car couldn't be driven anymore. Otherwise, it would crash off the cliff, and Jiang Xiu wouldn't be there to save them a second time. "If I may be so bold, please help me again, sir." Was spiritual cultivation so easy to invite? However, since he had already saved Tang Jinshan's life today, it would be a waste of effort if he were to watch Tang Jinshan get killed. Moreover, he felt that Tang Jinshan's name sounded familiar. Just as he was about to speak, two figures ran down from the top of the mountain. They were as light as swallows, and their speed was fast. "Ha ha ha, I was wondering who it was. It's Tang Jinshan." While they were talking, the two people had already come down quickly. They were two old men who looked to be in their 60s, but they were both strong and strong. "Master Chu." The man on the left wearing a Tang suit was Chu Tiannan, Master Chu. He was thin, had bright eyes, and had the demeanor of a master. The man beside him had thick limbs, and his aura was also extraordinary. Tang Jinshan was pleasantly surprised. I already know about the old man's matter. I specially invited Lu Jingjuan's good friend to come with me. I'll make sure old man Tang is safe and sound." Master Chu's face was as calm as a spring breeze. "That's great." Tang Jinshan was really overjoyed. Just when he was worried about how to go up the mountain, Master Chu came down. Not only that, he also brought another grandmaster to help him. "Who is this young friend?" Master Chu's eyes fell on Jiang Xiu. In order to save trouble, Tang Jinshan said bluntly, "This is Mr. Jiang Xiu, a friend I invited. His strength is not to be underestimated. Today, with the help of 3 masters, he will be safe and sound." "A young man?" Master Chu glanced at Jiang Xiu indifferently, and disdain flashed in his eyes. No matter how talented a martial artist was, he still needed time to accumulate. Moreover, with Master Chu's status, how could he let a young man be on the same level as him? Let's go back and wait for the opponent to come. The Tang family was in the most prosperous area of Rivertown. It was independent in the middle of a mountain. There were soldiers on both sides of the mountain, and these soldiers were carrying submachine guns. At this point, Jiang Xiu remembered who Tang Jinshan was. He was the retired chief with the highest military rank in Rivertown. With such a high status, the opponent would definitely not be weak. No wonder he invited a master. They drove all the way to the military compound. There was a pocket formation at the entrance. There were 3 inner and 3 outer layers, and there were 12 groups of sentries. The defense could be said to be impregnable, but Old Man Tang was still uneasy. Old man, you can rest assured. With me and Master Lu here, he will not be allowed to enter this compound. Jiang Xiu had been busy the whole night and was really tired. He said, Old Man Tang, arrange a room for me. I'm a little sleepy. Sir, this way please. Old Man Tang's grandson, Tang Wenchong, led Jiang Xiu to the guest room. Old Man Tang, what kind of person is this young man? Master Chu said, forgive me for speaking bluntly, but the path of martial arts is different from other things. It takes time to polish it bit by bit. Young heroes only exist in novels. Could it be that the old man was deceived by him? Lu Zhengjun also said, I don't see any internal energy in his body. Most likely he only knows a little external martial arts. Let me test him to see if he has real skills. Old Man Tang said, No. Just now in the mountain, the car almost fell off the cliff. It was he who saved us. Master Chu and Lu Zhengjun looked at each other. Master Chu said, if Old Man Tang really invited someone, why bother looking for us? If we were to join forces with a young man, wouldn't it be a disgrace to our status? Old Man Tang looked troubled. I was careless and didn't notice this at all. But now that he is here, if we chase him away, wouldn't it be? Master Chu said. Master Lu, it seems that we are a dog catching a mouse today. After saying this, the two of them were about to leave. Old Man Tang's face changed greatly. Masters, please wait. I will go and ask Mr. Jiang to leave. Chapter 12. A hard kung fu grandmaster was indeed powerful, and even more powerful than the average grandmaster in terms of lethality. But how could he compare with Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun? Old Master Tang Jinshan naturally knew which was more important. But he was in a dilemma. If Jiang Xiu was really a hard kung fu grandmaster, this matter would be easy to handle. He could just find some excuses to get rid of him. After all, Tang Jinshan's identity was there, and he could not be offended. But Jiang Xiu had saved their lives, so he was his savior. Tang Jinshan said, Grandmasters, how about this? Mr. Jiang just saved our lives. If we drive him away now, it's really unreasonable. I'll ask someone to guard the door. If something happens, don't let him come out. It was reasonable to drive their savior out of the door. Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun looked at each other. They were still unhappy, but they nodded in the end. Tang Jinshan finally breathed a sigh of relief. Dong, I'll leave this matter to you. Go and guard Mr. Jiang's door. Don't let him come out when the time comes. Dong was the driver just now. Yes, he answered without hesitation. Chu Tiannan said, the opponent this time is so powerful. Let him stay in his room, and not come out. This just happens to fulfill his wish. After saying that, he even laughed. The sarcasm in his words was obvious. His good friend Lu Zhengjun also shook his head helplessly. It seemed that Jiang Xiu had taken advantage of them. Dong said, of course he can't compare with Master Chu. Even though Jiang Xiu had saved his life, and that shocking move of grabbing the 1.5-ton Maybach was like an overlord's giant cauldron, shocking the world, Dong was clear that kindness was kindness, and strength was strength. He agreed that Jiang Xiu had great potential, but he still had a long way to go before he could reach Chu Tiannan's level. He went to Jiang Xiu's room and stood guard there. He would strictly carry out the old master's order, and never let Jiang Xiu out of the room, so as not to disgrace Master Chu and Master Lu. There were many swindlers in the martial arts world. If you could get in touch with a strong master, you could go out and eat for free. This was nothing. Adong thought that Jiang Xiu should get some benefits for saving them, but he was afraid that it would affect Master Chu's reputation. At this time, Jiang Xiu had already fallen asleep. His bloodline had awakened, and he had entered the first profound realm of the awakening period. This made him extremely tired. The amount of blood and qi he had consumed was unimaginable. He fell asleep almost as soon as he touched the bed. He was sleeping like a baby, even snoring. When Adong heard the snoring, the veins on his forehead bulged. Adong had really fallen asleep. The other two grandmasters were sitting cross-legged in meditation to stay awake at all times. If Jiang Xiu hadn't saved them, Adong would have flipped out. Are you here to protect my old master or not? When it was 2 o'clock in the morning, a scream suddenly rang out in the quiet military compound. Everyone was awakened, and then they heard the sound of gunshots. Jiang Xiu's eyes suddenly opened, and what fell into his eyes was a scene that made him dumbfounded. On the window of the room, there were large and small green snakes crawling on the floor. Dozens of green snakes slithered, leaving silver traces on the floor. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been scared out of their wits. On the bed, several snakes flicked their tongues at Jiang Xiu, but Jiang Xiu just smiled faintly. Poisonous snakes? And they are well trained. After these poisonous snakes saw Jiang Xiu clearly, they actually showed a look of panic. Yes, panic, because they realized that the person in front of them was not an ordinary human. Is the enemy here? Jiang Xiu ignored the snakes. To the snakes, he was the real poisonous snake. He stood up, and the snakes saw him as a scourge. They were so scared that they quickly retreated, shrank in the corner, and escaped through the window. Jiang Xiu opened the door, and found Adong waiting outside. He reached out and held the door handle. Mr. Jiang, for your safety, you'd better stay in the room. Don't worry. Nothing will happen, Jiang Xiu said. What do you mean? He was here to help, but the enemy was here. Why should he stay in the room and not come out? Adong smiled. Nothing. You are our distinguished guest. How can we let you take risks? It's safer for you to stay in the room. Master Chu and Master Lu will solve the problem soon. After saying that, he closed the door behind him. With a click, the door was locked from the inside. No matter how strict the military compound's security was, it collapsed silently under the poisonous snakes. All the sentries were poisoned on the spot. If there was enough light, a layer of green smoke could be seen in the sky. A figure swaggered in as casually as if he was strolling in his own backyard. Tang Jinshan, today is the day you die. His voice was like an owl's, making people's hair stand on end. Lin Jinbei. When Tang Jinshan saw the person, his face turned pale, and his hands clenched into fists. He had been in the army since he was young and had been on the battlefield all his life. He had been on the brink of death countless times, and his heart was already as hard as steel. However, when he saw the person who came, he still felt fear. You shouldn't have come back. As soon as he finished speaking, a person came out from the left side of the courtyard. He rushed out of the house as fast as a horse. It was Chu Tiannan. Another person rushed out from the right side of the courtyard. It was Lu Jingjun. Two masters. Lin Jinbei glanced at the two people and laughed arrogantly. They are the reason why you're so confident? He did not stop walking, and the aura around him grew stronger and stronger. His murderous intent burst out as if it was real. Ha ha ha. Chu Tiannan thought that he was extraordinary. He pointed his sword at Lin Jinbei and said, Lin Jinbei, the biggest mistake you've made in your life was going against the old man. The stupidest thing you've done was not running away when you saw me, Chu Tiannan. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Cripple him. Lu Jingjun jumped into the air like a feather and landed heavily. With a boom, he stomped on the ground, and the tiles on the ground spread out like a wave. Insignificant skill. Lin Jinbei looked at the wave on the ground that was spreading out. He lifted his right foot and stomped on the ground. An invisible force rushed out, and with a bang, the two forces collided. A huge pit was formed on the ground, and it was a mess. In the midst of the smoke, Lin Jinbei had already rushed out, bringing with him a cold gleam. Chu Tiannan was so shocked that he shouted to be careful, and he had already dove down. When the cold gleam slashed across Lu Jingjuan's chest, he saw that it was a dagger. It was a white dagger, and it looked terrifying under the night sky. There was even blood on it. Despicable. Lu Jingjun cursed, but he was shocked. His opponent's speed was too fast. They were only 20 meters apart, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of him and even injured him. Lin Jinbei felt a strong wind coming from the side of his body. He swung the dagger in his hand in a strange manner, and slashed upwards. If he was in this position, his dagger would have collided with Chu Tiannan's fist. The Grandmaster fist had a fist aura, and it was not inferior to a dagger. It was impossible to injure him. However, Lin Jinbei's body moved 10 centimeters to the side, and the dagger avoided the fist and landed on the inner side of his wrist. With a slash of the dagger, fresh blood spurted out. The momentum of the fist aura did not decrease, and it landed heavily on Lin Jinbei's waist. This was definitely enough to make him suffer. However, Lin Jinbei's face revealed a strange smile. His waist was as soft as a snake, and his entire body twisted. Chu Tiannan's fist had no place to exert force, and it actually slashed across his body. The two of them crossed. Lin Jinbei looked at his dagger proudly, and his eyes revealed an infatuated expression. He was infatuated with his own technique, and it was like a dance, like an art. Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun were shocked. Not only did the two of them fail to take him down, but they were both injured. Surprised? Scared? Lin Jinbei said, "Now you should know why I came back. This time, I came back to take revenge on Tang Jinshan, and it was just a side trip. The real purpose of this trip is the Dao soldier." Ah! Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun exclaimed in unison. Their faces changed greatly, and they were as pale as paper. How is this possible? Open your eyes wide and see clearly. With a whoosh, Lin Jinbei moved and suddenly disappeared without a trace. His speed was so fast that even Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun who were close by could not see him, let alone Tang Jinshan who was far away. They could only see an afterimage. Puchi. They could only see a shadow flashing around Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun. Streaks of bright red blood spurted out from their bodies, and it was glaring and shocking. 31-32. Every time he stabbed, he would call out a number. 33. Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun attacked the shadow in a frenzy. However, every punch they threw out only hit the shadow. They screamed as if they had gone mad, but they were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Their screams were more like wails before death. 103, 104. The blood on the ground flowed all over. It was a ghastly sight. How much blood did a person have? How long could it flow? 208, 209. Their screams became softer and softer, and their movements became slower and slower. In the end, their voices stopped, and their movements were as slow as old ladies. In the end, they could not hold on any longer and collapsed in a pool of blood. However, the violent rise and fall of their chests made people realize that they were still alive. 321. The scene became silent. Tang Jinshan, who was at the entrance of the courtyard, was pale and bloodless. The two grandmasters that he had risked his life to invite were actually toyed with by Lin Jinbei like children. What made Tang Jinshan's heart turn cold was that with his terrifying speed, he could definitely take their lives, but he had stabbed them more than 300 times, tormenting them while they were still alive, causing them to slowly die in despair and fear. Terrifying, too terrifying. Lin Jinbei was still the same Lin Jinbei as before. How could this be? Chu Tiannan's eyelids became very heavy. Is this the strength required to become a Dao soldier? The difference in strength was too great. There was no chance of winning at all. At this moment, Chu Tiannan was filled with regret and hatred. Why did he have to force himself to stand up? Now he had even lost his life. Enough playing. I'll send you on your way. Bye-bye. Suddenly a voice rang out. Chu Tiannan, if you kneel down and beg me, I might save your life. Chapter 13. Along with this voice, a figure slowly walked out from the darkness of the house. Under the darkness, he looked extremely strange. He was expressionless and his eyes swept over Chu Tiannan who was lying in a pool of blood in the distance. It's you. Chu Tiannan saw clearly that it was Jiang Xiu, the young man he looked down on. Tang Jinshan also looked at Jiang Xiu with an awkward expression. Didn't he ask Adong to watch over him? Adong ran out from the house and said, "Old master Before he could finish his words, he was stunned by the scene in front of him. The courtyard was full of corpses of soldiers. Some were hanging on the trees, some were lying by the roadside, some were on the stairs, and some were at the windows. And Chu Tiannan, whom he worshipped, and Lu Jingjun, the grandmaster he invited, were lying in a pool of blood. Defeated, a crushing defeat. How did this happen?" Lin Jinbei stood in front of Jiang Xiu, blood dripping from the dagger in his hand to the ground. Dark clouds covered the moon, and the sky was pitch black. At this moment, even the wind seemed to have frozen. "Excuse me." Jiang Xiu lifted his foot, and was about to step forward. He was less than a meter away from Lin Jinbei. With Jiang Xiu's current speed, he would be close to Lin Jinbei if he took another step forward. Lin Jinbei was also calculating where he would land, and the dagger in his hand was ready to strike. Jiang Xiu's front foot collapsed. Lin Jinbei was shocked. He stared at Jiang Xiu's two swords. No matter how nimble a person's movements were, his shoulders would always be exposed. Jiang Xiu's right shoulder shrunk slightly and moved to the left. Lin Jinbei laughed secretly. His strongest point was not that his dagger was fast enough, nor that his body was flexible enough. It was his judgment of position and sense of space. He immediately moved to the left accordingly. Unexpectedly, his vision blurred, and Jiang Xiu was already less than half a meter away from him. He raised his dagger and prepared to stab, but Jiang Xiu suddenly moved forward. If he didn't retreat, they would definitely collide. Lin Jinbei was furious. He stabbed his dagger without hesitation. Jiang Xiu's body moved subtly a few times, but no one was able to detect his slight movements. Lin Jinbei, who was in the middle of it, felt that every movement of the other party was aimed at his weakness. It was as if he could predict the future and understand his next intention and movement. However, there were no signs of any movement, which made him feel incredulous. He couldn't stab his dagger anymore. Jiang Xiu had already brushed past him. Lin Jinbei's eyes suddenly widened. It was as if his brain was struck by lightning and became blank. Only when Jiang Xiu walked in front of Chu Tiannan did he realize that Jiang Xiu had already crossed his line of defense. In an instant he broke out in cold sweat and his hands trembled. Strong, too strong. At this moment, he had a strong desire to run away. However, he didn't dare. His intuition told him that if he moved, he would die in the next moment. Chu Tiannan also saw it clearly. He was shocked. This little youngster was actually able to forcefully cross Lin Jinbei's line of defense. If he had made his move earlier, he wouldn't have been injured like this. His body was covered with wounds, and his internal organs were all pierced. The fear of death made him extremely strained. However, he still tried his best to open his mouth and say, "Please, please save me." Jiang Xiu sneered. "Didn't you look down on me and don't need my help?" These words deeply hurt Chu Tiannan. A trace of remorse flashed past his slackened eyes. He secretly hated himself for looking down on others. Chu Tiannan crawled towards Jiang Xiu with difficulty. "I was blind." "Please save me," Jiang Xiu said. "I have been locked in the room for 3 minutes. If you can hold on for 3 minutes, you will be able to survive." Boom. Chu Tiannan's heart seemed to have suddenly suffered a heavy blow. His bright eyes dimmed. There were so many wounds on his body that in less than a minute, all of his blood would flow out. After 3 minutes, he would already be a corpse. Save, save. Chu Tiannan's raised hand drooped down powerlessly. His pupils dilated and he forcefully opened his eyes. In the midst of remorse, his life force was completely cut off. Save me, it has nothing to do with me." Lu Jingjun used his last breath to say. Jiang Xiu said, "I will keep my word. There are still 2.5 minutes left." Really no. Lu Jingjun also lost his last drop of blood. "Who are you?" Lin Jinbei asked. "Why do you want to get involved in this mess?" "I am Lin Jinbei. I hope your highness can make it convenient for me to resolve this hatred." Tang Jinshan was so nervous that his face turned green. He was also very regretful in his heart. It was a mistake. If he had persisted, he would not have offended this mysterious young man. If he had left in a huff, he would have lost his life. Judging from the way Jiang Xiu dealt with Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun, this was most likely the case. He could only blame himself. He deserved it. He saved Jiang Xiu's life and helped him fight against the enemy, yet he humiliated Jiang Xiu like this. This was retribution. Your Highness, scram. Jiang Xiu lightly spat out a word. Lin Jinbei's face stiffened. Thinking of Jiang Xiu's methods just now, his whole body turned cold. He did not even dare to say a word of nonsense. He did not even look at his enemy, Tang Jinshan. He immediately retreated. His legs were so weak that he almost fell down. It was very embarrassing. Phew. Tang Jinshan really heaved a sigh of relief. At that moment, he almost suffocated. Beside him, the driver, Dong, was completely dumbfounded. Lin Jinbei, who easily killed Chu Tiannan and Lu Jingjun, left just like that. He was scared witless by Jiang Xiu's words. Didn't that mean that Jiang Xiu was even stronger than Chu Tiannan? How was this possible? But Lin Jinbei's frightened look was enough to explain everything. Tang Jinshan quickly walked over. Mr. Jiang, I, Tang Jinshan, am eternally grateful for your kindness. How about this? I will pay the same amount as the two grandmasters. 10 million, 10 million. In 2008, 10 million was indeed a lot. Yi Bing's villa was only worth 2 to 3 million. With this amount of money, he could buy 20 to 30 sets of Rivertown's gold-level prescriptions. If Mr. Jiang thinks it's not enough, we can add more. Jiang Xiu did not say anything. He slowly walked over to Tang Jinshan and picked up a blade from the ground. Tang Jinshan did not know what he was going to do. He just stared at him, feeling uneasy. I don't want this 10 million. I want yours. Ah! Tang Jinshan suddenly screamed like a pig being slaughtered. His left arm flew out in the air, blood gushing out like a fountain. Elder Tang. Dong was shocked. He looked at Jiang Xiu with shock and fear. Tang Jinshan was in so much pain that the muscles on his face twitched nonstop. Cold sweat poured down his face. Even so, he still managed to squeeze out a smile. He was still a man. After all, he was the person with the highest military rank in Rivertown. Thank you, Mr. Jiang, thank you for not killing me. I deserve this punishment. Jiang Xiu tossed the blade in his hand and turned to leave. Farewell, Mr. Jiang. When Jiang Xiu completely disappeared from sight, Tang Jinshan could not hold on any longer. He fell backward. Dong quickly caught him. Elder Tang, are you okay? Doctor, Tang Jinshan said. Dong, remember this. My arm was chopped off by Lin Jinbei, not Jiang Xiu. Why, it was clearly, Tang Jinshan said. Mr. Jiang is kind. I'm afraid they can't tell right from wrong. Okay. Remember, when Jiang Xiu returned to the dormitory, the sky was hazy. It was almost dawn. He lay down on the bed and fell asleep. In the haze, someone gently pushed him on the shoulder. Wake up. Jiang Xiu opened his eyes. The scene in front of him became clear. It was a beautiful face. Her long hair was neatly tied up in a bun. Her two willowy eyebrows showed a rare heroic spirit. Her big eyes were as clear as autumn water, full of rationality and wisdom. Her nose bridge was high and her lips were plump. The beauty scolded. What's wrong with you? It's past 9, and you're still sleeping in the dormitory. Don't you have class? Jiang Xiu was sleepy. How dare you disturb me when I'm sleeping? The beauty was so angry that her nose was crooked. She had never seen such a student before. She bit her lip, grabbed Jiang Xiu's blanket and lifted it. Get up. How valiant, lifting a boy's blanket. In the next second, the beautiful teacher hurriedly turned around. It was early in the morning, and he was a pubescent child. His pants were pushed up high, and the beautiful teacher's pretty face suddenly flushed red. She hatefully said, "Immediately put on your clothes and come out for me." Jiang Xiu was about to fly into a rage when he suddenly remembered that he was back in his hometown. Moreover, his body was cold. He looked down and saw that the spiritual cultivation was embarrassed. He quickly covered himself with the blanket. Prying into my privacy should be punished. Chapter 14. After more than 10 minutes, Jiang Xiu finally walked out of the dormitory. The beauty was standing in the hallway, staring at him like a tiger watching its prey. Other than Jiang Xiu, there were more than a dozen students standing outside, including He Yang from the dormitory next door. They all had their heads down like primary school students who had just been scolded. Look at yourselves. Do you still look like students? The sun is already up in the sky and you still don't get up. What do you want me to write in your graduation comments? The beauty was very strict when she scolded people. Jiang Xiu was puzzled. What was this woman doing? Why was everyone so afraid of her? Who is she? Why is she so awesome? He Yang quietly pulled his sleeve. Gu Shi, the head coach of the martial arts department. It's her. In addition to cultural classes, there were also special students. Martial arts was one of their specialties. It was a very rare subject, and many schools didn't even have martial arts classes. However, this teacher was amazing. There were many campus beauties, but there was only one beautiful teacher. And this one was not ordinary. It was said that she was from the Dragon Legion of the military. The city spent a lot of effort to find her, and arranged her to study in the best high school in the city, Jiangqing Second High School. Because of her arrival, the city leaders and the school leaders paid special attention to martial arts. They hoped that some of the best students would be specially recruited by Capital University. Which one of the martial arts teachers wasn't a violent maniac? Coupled with her influential status, even the discipline master was nothing in front of her. No wonder everyone was so scared. In his previous life, Jiang Xiu had no interaction with the martial arts department. Although he had seen this beautiful female teacher, he didn't think of her at all. She really is a teacher. Thinking about his reaction just now, the god of cultivation didn't feel ashamed anymore. He clamped his legs together and scolded in his heart. He really is a teacher. You really have big guts. You actually dared to go against a teacher. You really don't care about the situation, and don't know the severity of the situation. He Yang said timidly. There's a competition today. The teacher said that all of us in the class have to cheer for them. This is troublesome. Noticing that Jiang Xiu was still whispering to his classmates after being reprimanded by her, her beautiful face was covered with a layer of frost. She strode over with her long legs. Jiang Xiu caught a whiff of a faint fragrance between his breaths. He raised his head in astonishment, and saw that the devil Gu Shi was already looking at him coldly. Jiang Xiu blushed. I didn't do it on purpose. Master Gu Shi's cold expression became very unnatural. He turned to the others and said, You guys go to the martial arts school first. Jiang Xiu, stay here. When they heard that the demonic female teacher had allowed them to leave, they felt as if they had been granted amnesty. Classmate Jiang Xiu, you're really a good person. You took the blame well. They all ran away, including He Yang. There was no one to share the fire with him. Jiang Xiu cursed in his heart. F***ck, none of these bastards are loyal. They actually abandoned me like this. As soon as the others left, Gu Shi raised her eyebrows and said sternly, Jiang Xiu, you're a child from a poor family. It's such a rare opportunity to study in a famous school like the Second High School. Why don't you know how to cherish it? How can you live up to your studies with such a lazy attitude? Jiang Xiu was especially disgusted by these teachers who would go overboard at the slightest provocation. He frowned and said, I merely slept a little late. You don't have to slander me like this, right? You have to give me a chance to correct my mistakes. You can't kill me with one blow. Gu Shi didn't expect that this guy didn't have any respect for her. Instead, he was so reasonable. It's not just about you going to bed late. It's about your attitude. You skipped class and slept in for no reason. This is disrespectful to your teachers, Jiang Xiu said with a smile. Whether I respect my teachers or not has nothing to do with my studies. Didn't you say that you didn't come to school for the teachers? You came to school for yourselves. Gu Shi choked and couldn't say anything. Jiang Xiu said, Anyway, I respect teacher Gu Shi very much. I respect you from the bottom of my heart. As for the salute, he had already done it this morning. If you're still not satisfied, I promise I'll respect you more in the future. Gu Shi warned him. Don't be so glib. I've seen worse students than you. There was a strong threatening tone in her words. Jiang Xiu said, I'm a good boy. Gushi finally realized that Jiang Xiu was just a wily old fox. Her teacher's dignity didn't have any deterrent effect on him. Jiang Xiu, I heard about what happened yesterday. No matter how you treat the discipline director, you're just asking for trouble in front of me. Today's matter is not over. Was she a teacher or a gangster? She was blatantly threatening him. Follow me to the martial arts dojo. Gushi walked in front and Jiang Xiu followed behind her. His gaze naturally gathered on her back. Gushi's waist was very thin, the curve of her buttocks was beautiful, and her height was outstanding. She wore a pair of white flats and the curves of her calves were perfect. She had the body of a model. Come on, come on. From afar they could hear the noise coming from the martial arts dojo. Today was the point competition. The points of the competition were very important to the specially recruited martial arts students. This was the only standard. When they entered the martial arts dojo, almost all the students in the class had arrived. This was also teacher Gushi's strength. They were already in their third year of high school, but their studies were so tight. It was rare for them to have a Sunday, but they were still pulled to cheer for others. Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoran were naturally there too. They were even in the front row. It made sense to arrange beautiful girls to sit in front. This could stimulate the boys' potential. Come on. Some were holding signs, some were holding inflatable sticks, and some were even holding glow sticks. How's the competition? Gushi walked to the side of the field and asked a student from the martial arts department. She looked at the competition with a serious face. Xiaohai has already gained the upper hand. The student from the martial arts department was very excited. The martial arts competition was very exciting. Every punch hit the flesh, and every kick was powerful. Bang bang. The battle was very intense. They went back and forth, making loud banging sounds. Opposite them was a young man in white and sportswear. He stared coldly at the competition in the field. He was the leader of Rivertown First High School. He was also a third-year student. His name was Situsheng. He was a martial arts powerhouse in Rivertown First High School. It was said that he had decided to join the military. He even had the chance to join the Dragon Legion. Whoosh! Xiaohai's fist whistled and was full of power. If one did not see it with their own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that this was a punch from a high school student. The punch was steady and full of power. His foundation was very solid. The opponent was not inferior either. He was bold and aggressive, and his punches were fierce. Xiaohai's punch is about 43 kilograms, and the opponent should be more than 50 kilograms. The opponent's punch is heavier than Xiaohai's, but Xiaohai is fighting steadily. Once the opponent's stamina is exhausted, Xiaohai should be able to get the points smoothly this time. The martial arts department analyzed. Yes. Teacher Gushi nodded. Lu Xiaoyan also heard it and said excitedly, we'll win for sure. Yi Bing was also very excited. Xiaohai, go for it. The girls worked even harder. This was the school's sense of honor. Of course, they were excited to see their own school's people win. We've already lost. Hearing such discouraging words, the group of female students looked over in unison. Jiang Xiu, what do you know? You're not a martial artist. Jiang Xiu said, the opponent's punch is much heavier than that Xiaohai guy. Xiaohai doesn't have any outstanding skills. How can the weak win against the strong? How ignorant and stupid is he to expect the opponent to exhaust his stamina? Yi Bing said, Xiaoyan, ignore him. We'll lose if we talk to him. After saying that, she looked at Jiang Xiu with the attitude of an ice beauty. Ha ha ha. Spiritual cultivation was very angry. It was as if he was deliberately looking for a topic to reward them. How many beauties throw themselves at this sovereign, and you're still so enthusiastic. Forgive this sovereign for speaking bluntly. 10 punches, that Xiaohai guy will lose. Yi Bing frowned and said, can't you hope for your own classmate? Jiang Xiu faintly smiled. 1 punch. 2 punches. 3, 4, 5. The speed of the exchange was very fast. Almost by the time Yi Bing finished speaking, they had already exchanged several punches. Every punch landed on Xiaohai's body, and he was forced to retreat step by step. That person leapt into the air and punched out. Jiang Xiu saw this and smiled. At this moment, Xiaohai was in the middle of it. He was the one who knew best. The pain on his face was clearly visible. He was bitterly holding on. His raised fist was trembling. It was simply impossible for him to resist a 50-pound punch. The arm in front of him was ruthlessly smashed away. The heavy punch landed on his chest. With a muffled groan, he was directly sent flying. One punch was not too much, not too little. It was exactly 10 punches. The cheering stopped abruptly. Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoyan looked at each other in astonishment. They could see the shock in each other's eyes. Chapter 15. If Jiang Xiu had only guessed correctly that Xiaohai would lose, it wouldn't be surprising. Either way, there was a 50% chance that he would be right. However, Jiang Xiu had accurately guessed that Xiaohai would lose after 10 punches. It was exactly 10 punches, not one more and not one less. This was a little shocking. Yi Bing said, "Jiang Xiu, you must be guessing." Yi Damei didn't believe that Jiang Xiu had the ability to see through it. Perhaps even teacher Gu Shi didn't have such eyesight. Jiang Xiu's face was cold. "If I had caught you, you would have won." "You." Yi Bing's nose was almost crooked from anger. It was as if she wanted to talk to you. She turned her head away fiercely. "Who was talking to you about a puppy? What's there to be proud of? You're just lucky." After Xiaohai lost, the second round began quickly. Gu Xian from the martial arts department appeared. His opponent was a student with an average build and a square face. Come on, come on. Come on, Gu Xian." Yi Bing spared no effort to cheer for the student who was going to fight. Defeat number 1 middle school. Show the might of number 2 middle school. A very discordant voice drifted into Yi Damei's ears. Gu Xian is defeated, 22 punches. Yi Bing's anger that had finally calmed down was ignited again by Jiang Xiu. This is so infuriating. Heavens, who was it that let this beast out? The match began. Yi Bing, Lu Xiaoyan, and the other female students watched the match anxiously. The moment the two sides came up, they went all out. Punches and kicks whistled as the wind howled. 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches. Jiang Xiu, who was behind them, was counting nonchalantly. 4 punches. Yi Bing was furious. What do you mean by counting all of them? Do you want Gu Xian to lose? Do you feel proud when the school loses the competition? She turned her head to the side and found that Jiang Xiu wasn't watching the competition. His eyes were closed and he was leisurely. However, Yi Bing realized that Jiang Xiu's counting was very accurate. Basically, every time the opponent threw a punch, Jiang Xiu would add a chew. Every time the opponent threw a punch, there was no difference in the number of punches. 7 punches, 8. How did he do it? It was said that some martial arts masters were able to determine a person's location through sound. But Jiang Xiu was just an ordinary senior high school student. How could he have such high martial arts attainments? 17-18. The martial disciple from number 1 high school roared. 1-inch dragon strength. Flower rush Sansho. The two men's moves became faster and faster. Their moves constantly collided with each other. Banging sounds resounded throughout the martial arts field. The battle on the field was intense, and the cheers from the audience were even louder. 2021. Defeat. As soon as the last word left Jiang Xiu's mouth, Gu Xian seemed to be cooperating with him. With a miserable cry, he was sent flying into the air, crashing heavily into a cushion in the distance. Yi Bing, Lu Xiaoyan, and the others were completely shocked. It can't be. The two girls were speechless. This was too godly, especially Yi Bing. When she turned her head to look at Jiang Xiu, who was counting softly, his eyes were closed. Could it be that he was really some kind of martial arts master? Yi Bing decided to ask him. She had completely forgotten what he said just now. Hey, how did you know? It can't be so accurate. Jiang Xiu said with a cold face. This sovereign is talking to you. This sovereign guest. TSK, forget it if you don't want to say it. Who cares? Yi Bing said this, but she was really curious. It was impossible for there to be such a coincidence in the world. The following matches proved that it was impossible to guess correctly by guessing. Chen Yang lost 5 punches. Luo Wenbin lost 11 punches. Zhang Jin lost 9 punches. They were dumbstruck and flabbergasted. Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoyan were unable to describe the shock in their hearts at this moment. Jiang Xiu was like a monstrous prophet, and every word he said was accurate. At this point, the girls didn't have any doubts. Jiang Xiu definitely had extraordinary judgment. It's Wang Yinan. Department head Wang Yinan is going to fight. We must win this match. They couldn't lose again. Second High had already lost 6 times in a row. Wang Yinan was the strongest in Second High. If Second High lost this match, it would be a complete loss. Yi Bing asked softly, "Then what about this match?" Jiang Xiu said indifferently, "Wang Yinan lost 27 punches." It can't be. Yi Bing and Lu Xiaoyan both covered their mouths in shock. They now firmly believed in Jiang Xiu's judgment. If Jiang Xiu said that Wang Yinan lost, then there was no doubt that Wang Yinan would lose. They couldn't lose again. If they lost again, they would lose even their pants. Yinan, fight steadily. Don't be distracted by the match just now. Teacher Guxi's beautiful face was completely ashen. She was the most embarrassed to lose the match like this. She had such a big reputation, but she taught such a group of students. Brother Nan, we can't lose this match even if we die. Do your best. This was Second High's field. If word got out that they were beaten bald in their own territory, it would be too embarrassing. Gushi gave her a final psychological counseling. Their failure has nothing to do with you. Don't be impatient. You have to believe in your own strength. Okay. Wang Yinan nodded solemnly. I can't lose this match even if I die. The match began. In order to defend Second High's honor, the students present all stood up and shouted crazily. Brother Nan, do your best. Fight it out with him. Do your best. Their shouts had become hoarse. At this moment, the entire Second High students were united. Some girls cried and waved their hands vigorously. Why don't you do your best? A voice as cold as winter came. Jiang Xiu looked up. It was Teacher Guxi. At this moment, her face was covered with a layer of terrible coldness. The surrounding people's gazes were all attracted to this scene. Guxi had been paying attention to Jiang Xiu for a long time. She closed her eyes carelessly and didn't look at the match. Are you a student of Second High? Do you have a sense of collective honor? You really don't deserve to be a student of Second High. Jiang Xiu said. If cheering is useful, they won't lose. You, Teacher Guxi was so angry that she almost fainted. He was too hateful. Her beautiful eyes were filled with hatred. There was reason to believe that from this moment on, Teacher Guxi deeply hated Jiang Xiu. They're still better than you. After such a long martial arts class, they can still compete and accumulate enough points. Even if they can't submit, they can still get points for the college entrance examination. But you? You're useless. There was a sudden uproar in the field. Looking over, Wang Yinan was directly kicked to the ground by her opponent. She didn't get up for a long time. Lost. They saw the winner of the number 1 high school standing in the field. He was wearing sportswear, had a crew cut, and was about 1.78 meters tall. His name was Lu Yang. He proudly stretched out his fist, then turned his fingers, thumbs down, and made an insulting gesture. Second High this. Silence. There was no sound at all. Those who had been defeated hung their heads like stray dogs. They had lost 7 times in a row and had not tasted a single victory. What else could they say? Ha ha. Seeing that the people of Second High were so scared, the people from number 1 high school were even more proud. They laughed wantonly. Second High, there's no one who can fight. What's the point of opening a martial arts department? Just close it down. Pack your things and get ready to leave. Jiang Xiu said. Okay, now I can go back to the dormitory and sleep. He was really sleepy. He had only slept for 3 hours. It was really uncomfortable. You, Teacher Guxi, who had suffered a huge blow after being humiliated by number 1 high school, was hit hard again. That's too much. We've already lost so badly, and you're still making sarcastic remarks. That's right. Yi Bing also stared at Jiang Xiu indignantly. She looked like she was going to be at daggers drawn with him. Jiang Xiu's sudden departure was very abrupt. Moreover, he was going to face the people from number 1 high school. Seeing that Jiang Xiu was blocking their way, the arrogant Lu Yang stretched out his hand and tried to push Jiang Xiu away. Get lost. Jiang Xiu's eyes turned cold. He casually struck out with his palm. Boom. Spiritual cultivation's attack was amazing. The wind from his palm whistled and was extremely domineering. It seemed that it did not touch Lu Yang. Under everyone's astonished gaze, Lu Yang flew into the air. Oh my God! Spiritual cultivation did not stop there. He passed through Lu Yang's seat. Beat him up. Seeing that Lu Yang was hit, the people from number 1 high school immediately attacked. However, in a flash they were slapped in the face and flew out horizontally. When Situ Sheng saw that his 2 juniors had been defeated in an instant, he also attacked mercilessly. He leaped up and attacked Jiang Xiu with a kick. However, Jiang Xiu's kick had already landed on Situ Sheng's body. His entire body flew out like a cannonball and crashed heavily into the wall behind him. At this moment, the ferocious aura of a divine cultivator was revealed. The group of more than a dozen people was defeated upon contact. Not a single one of them could withstand a single blow. Everywhere the divine cultivator passed, wails of agony could be heard. When the last person fell to the ground, Jiang Xiu had already strode out of the martial arts field. I'm not dreaming, am I? He defeated all the people from number 1 high school alone. Yi Bing was so shocked that her jaw almost dropped. Teacher Gu, she was completely stunned on the spot. Chapter 16. This was too explosive. Jiang Xiu was like a top master in a wuxia novel. He just walked over with big strides, and the crowd was immediately thrown into the street. It was really domineering and shocking. The scene was even more dreamy than watching a movie. The students of number 1 middle school fell to the ground. Some fainted, some rolled around, some wailed, and some even cried. They were no longer as imposing as before. The students who were scolding Jiang Xiu just now were completely stunned. Wow. After a few seconds of silence, the entire martial arts field erupted into cheers. The roof was almost blown off by the sound waves. All the depression, anger, and humiliation were vented with the cheers. The students of number 2 middle school were so excited that they were about to combust. This was too awesome. He really made number 2 middle school proud. Did you see that? Number 1 middle school trash. This is the true strength of number 2 middle school. Situ Sheng, who was in the corner, said in pain, Help, my ribs are broken. Ha ha ha. Seeing the head of number 1 middle school's martial arts department cry for help, the students of number 2 middle school burst into laughter. This was too satisfying. I'll call an ambulance for you. Mr. Gu, she was still very gentlemanly. However, he looked in the direction where Jiang Xiu disappeared. His heart was like a raging storm. No wonder he didn't care about this kind of competition. He's actually such a strong person. Number 2 middle school. Number 2 middle school. The students cheered as if they had won a big battle. Lu Xiaoyan nudged Yi Bing, who was still in a daze, and whispered, Your boyfriend is very manly. He's not worse than the captain of the basketball team. Men should be able to fight. Yi Bing said nervously, Don't talk nonsense. Others will hear you. She quickly covered Lu Xiaoyan's stinky mouth. She was also very surprised. Jiang Xiu actually had such a high martial arts cultivation. It was really shocking. Lu Xiaoyan pushed Yi Bing's hand away and said, However, even if he has this talent, uncle and auntie won't agree. Even if he's recommended to Capital University, he'll at most be a mixed martial arts athlete. To ordinary people, this is already very good. But to your family, this kind of person is simply not worthy of you. Bing Bing, you must calm down. Yi Bing said, Keep your heart in your stomach. I will never like him. With a look of disdain, she added, He's not handsome at all. Girl, you're still obsessed with looks. These students were at most Sanda players, not even martial arts. They only knew some of the most basic boxing routines. It could be said that they had not even entered the door of real martial arts. Jiang Xiu, on the other hand, had dominated the immortal martial arts for 3,000 years and had experienced countless battles of life and death. Even though he had lost most of his magical power, he was still as powerful as the ancient gods in front of these people. Jiang Xiu was destined not to be able to sleep. As soon as he returned to his dormitory, he was lying on his bed. Just as he was about to fall asleep, the phone on his bed rang. It was Cheng Lingsu calling. He casually picked it up. What's the matter? Cheng Lingsu was currently holding Jiang Xiu's bag. The smelly clothes inside had been washed clean with detergent. Even the bag containing the clothes had been washed clean. Where do you want to meet? I'll give you your clothes. They've been washed clean. Jiang Xiu said, They've been washed clean? Cheng Lingsu said, Yes. Let's meet at the cafe in front of the school. I'll give you the clothes. Jiang Xiu said, Okay. From Cheng Lingsu's point of view, it was actually a bit dangerous to meet at the cafe in front of the school. There was a possibility that they would be seen by others. However, she was really too anxious. When she thought that she could cancel her engagement with Jiang Xiu, she couldn't wait any longer. She couldn't wait any longer. Today, she was wearing a black trench coat. Her waist was tied with a wide belt of the same color, making her waist appear even more slender. She was wearing a pair of white casual shoes that set off her long and beautiful legs. Her pure and beautiful face was hidden in the collar of her coat. It was like a lily that bloomed in the spring breeze, making people feel as if they were bathed in the spring breeze. It was very pleasing to the eyes. No matter where Cheng Lingsu went, she would always attract people's attention. Cheng Lingsu, this sovereign is here. Jiang Xiu had actually arrived before him. He waved his arm, as if he was afraid that others wouldn't be able to see him. The people at the cafe first glanced at Jiang Xiu, and then uniformly turned to look at Cheng Lingsu. Cheng Lingsu's beautiful face couldn't help but redden. You're doing this on purpose, right? Are you afraid that others won't know that I know you? You're very proud that you met a beauty, right? Cheng Lingsu's beautiful face hung even lower. Then, she walked towards Jiang Xiu with rhythmic steps. Your things. Jiang Xiu opened the bag. A fragrance floated out from inside. It was the fragrance of jasmine. Cheng Lingsu used the most high-end detergent at home. It was intoxicating. After being washed by her, it felt as if the old clothes had become new. Jiang Xiu said, It's really clean. It's even cleaner than the shop. Cheng Lingsu took out a piece of contract paper. She pressed a pen on it and pushed it towards Jiang Xiu. Sign it. Sign your name. Then our relationship will be over. This was personally drafted by the lawyer. It was a contract-type contract. Everyone will also be free. At this moment, when Cheng Lingsu said these words, she actually felt an indescribable sympathy for the boy in front of her. She discovered that she actually didn't have the heart to hurt him. After all, they were childhood playmates. However, her reason told her that it was impossible for them to be together. Since it was impossible, she shouldn't delay him. This was also a good thing for him. Jiang Xiu picked up the contract and looked at it. Suddenly he was speechless. When did I agree to cancel the engagement with you? Cheng Lingsu's expression immediately changed. Jiang Xiu, what do you mean? Looking at the joking expression on Jiang Xiu's face, Cheng Lingsu stood up. She realized that Jiang Xiu might be deliberately playing with her. You clearly agreed yesterday. Don't tell me that you want to go back on your words. Last night, she washed Jiang Xiu's clothes until 11 o'clock. Every single piece of clothing was personally washed by him. When she woke up in the morning, her arms were sore and tired. They were even trembling slightly. She couldn't even hold the pen steadily. Now he's saying that he doesn't agree? Jiang Xiu said. Go back on my words? I've always been a man of my word. He leaned over and lowered his voice. That voice sounded like a demon softly cursing beside her ear. The school didn't mention anything about expulsion. The police also didn't come to look for me. Cheng Lingsu's mind seemed to have been struck by lightning. That's right, how could it be like this? According to reason, Jiang Xiu should have been detained last night. How could he still walk in and out of the school so openly? If he didn't face expulsion and jail, then wouldn't she have washed his clothes for nothing? No, there's no reason for that. You injured him so heavily. It's impossible for the school to not deal with it. This is a criminal offense. It's impossible for Teacher Wang to not prosecute you. Cheng Lingsu didn't believe it. She firmly didn't believe it. However, the fact that Jiang Xiu was sitting in front of her was the best proof. You wash the clothes well. Next time, I'll look for you if I have any dirty clothes. After speaking, Jiang Xiu drank the coffee on the table, picked up his bag and left. How could it be like this? Cheng Lingsu didn't dare to believe it. In the end, how did the school do things? A student who committed such a serious offense actually didn't deal with it. No, I'm going to ask the principal. Hey miss, you haven't paid yet. Cheng Lingsu turned her head and took a glance. There was an empty plate and coffee cup on the coffee table. Jiang Xiu, you bastard. Well, Cheng Lingsu lost the money for a cup of coffee again. In the principal's office, Qin Lin flipped through Jiang Xiu's information. Looking at the photo of the shy and self-abased youth, his hand that was holding a cigarette slightly trembled. It was this student who actually hit his discipline master. Next to him was an injury examination report. Level 2 concussion, broken ribs, and bruises all over his body. The most hateful thing was that as the discipline master, he was actually beaten like this. He actually said that he bumped into the discipline master and refused to admit that he was beaten. Jiang Xiu. The principal looked through Jiang Xiu's past grades. Poor students. Generally, children from poor families would have very good grades, but he was an exception. His grades were very poor, almost at the bottom. With such grades, he was afraid that he couldn't even pass the undergraduate examination. Vermin rat shit. The principal scolded fiercely. This Jiang Xiu's name sounds a bit familiar. I seem to have heard of it somewhere. The principal looked through his own memo and found it. In the last call with Mrs. Yi, the student she asked him to expel was called Jiang Xiu. Mrs. Yi said that this student harassed her daughter. It's him. He is in the same class as Yi Bing. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Cheng Lingsu. Cheng Lingsu tried to suppress her anger, but she couldn't calm down. Principal, why don't you expel Jiang Xiu? He beat Mr. Wang like this. The impact is so bad. Why don't you expel him? Seeing that Cheng Lingsu was so angry, the principal said in surprise. He also offended you. Cheng Lingsu was stunned for a moment before she realized that she had lost her composure. She fiddled with her hair and calmed down. How could it be? How could I have an intersection with him? I just can't stand a student who beat a teacher like this. Principal, you must deal with it seriously. Otherwise, we won't have the mood to study. Deal with it, we must deal with it seriously. First he beat a teacher, and then offended the Yi family. Now he offended the Cheng family. This Jiang Xiu was simply looking for death. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.